back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
The only baseball move worse than that would be when Mr. Burns took Darryl Strawberry out in the company softball game because there was a lefty coming up. It's called playing the percentages.
Playing the percentages.
And it was great because Strawberry goes, "You taking me out, Skip? I got 9 home runs today."
and he only was up 5 times.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, June the 2nd, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you, with me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen.
Howdy.
How the hell are you?
Pete is above ground and out of the bunker.
He's out of the bunker tonight. What is that? What is that background you got there? Is that
it's
real
nature.
Or is that,
nature.
Is that actual nature?
That is actual nature. I am in the Sand Hills of North Carolina visiting some family.
Nice.
And that's the backyard right there.
There you go.
This is sort of a sunroom thing. It's windows and sliding glass doors all around. There was a deer out there just a few hours ago.
Oh, dear.
You couldn't schedule it to be come back around for the.
No, I went to. I started to open the door to say, "Hey, could you come back?" And they're skittish.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not like Long Island deer. They just walk up to you.
Long Island deer, yeah, walk up and just
ask,
like, "Hey,
ask for a smoke."
Yeah, you got a sandwich or a smoke or something. So they have actual nature here. So
there you go. Well, that's cool. That's cool. So we're coming to you from 3 parts of the country tonight.
That's right.
Look at that. Has anybody seen what's going on in baseball today?
Today?
Yeah. What did you
see?
The Mets. Did you see what actually happened as far as the?
I stopped watching baseball until about August. It's basketball season.
The broadcast of the Mets game.
No, tell us what happened.
The broadcast of the Mets game was only on YouTube today.
Okay.
Really?
Only on YouTube. Couldn't get it anywhere else. If you wanted to watch the Mets game, the Mets Diamondbacks game today, you had to watch YouTube.
Not on TikTok? They didn't break it down into 30-second videos on TikTok?
Every pitch was its own video.
Every pitch has its own TikTok.
Okay.
Well, and of course they won today.
Right, of course.
So you could only see the victory if you were watching.
Now,
YouTube.
why is that? Are they trying to get a contract with YouTube, or what is the?
I don't know what Manfred's trying to do. I mean, last year there was a bunch of different, broadcasts only, Facebook only broadcasts. I haven't heard of any this year yet. There might have been some. I hadn't heard of any. But yeah, it was YouTube only.
Don't the Yankees have some games on, I think, Amazon Prime this year?
Yankees are on Snapchat, actually. Later.
Yes. They're actually on MySpace. That's
right. They're trying to bring that back around.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, obviously, this is all part of his ploy to bring in the younger viewer,
Well, can't you have it on? Can't you have it on YouTube and also have it on whatever?
That's
regular.
That's what I'm talking about. So I guess I don't understand why, if you want to put it on YouTube because you want to bring in the younger viewer, the older viewer may not be able to watch YouTube, so they're not watching the game. So you just lost that audience. So
not only that, but the whole theory that just because you put something on YouTube, it's going to attract a younger audience is completely flawed. True. It's like, hey, let's put those old Lawrence Welk shows on YouTube. Because we got to get the kids watching them.
Right. All of a sudden, the 20-somethings are totally into to the Welk.
Maybe if they happen to stumble across it, they'll go, hey, look, that game with the stick and the little white thing is on YouTube. Yeah. Put up there's a new Fail Army video. Let's watch that instead. I don't watch it just because it's on YouTube.
I don't think baseball has to worry about gaining new customers. I think they have to worry about losing their loyal fan base.
Yeah, you would think.
Because this year, watching baseball is, don't get me wrong, I don't need to see 11-10 games. I like good pitching, but it is painful to watch baseball games at times this year. I mean, absolutely painful. I was more excited about Clint Frazier's home run last night just to get the game over with so I could go and watch the Nuggets than I was about the Yankees actually winning. I was just like, please put me out of my misery. Because I just immediately, if any game goes to extra innings, I'm angry.
Right.
I'm just watching angry, going, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this is all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Now they happen to win, so it's not as much bullshit as when they lost the first 6 extra inning games of the year.
Right.
But it is unbelievable how bad the hitting is, and it's not even just the hitting. It's just it's amazing how bad the fundamentals of baseball are. They're non-existent in baseball this year.
There's a lot of sloppy play right now. There really is.
All across, and everybody's getting hurt.
Yeah, and again today, I mean, the Mets won on their YouTube game today.
Was there not enough time off? Is this kind of what's going on in the NBA and Major League Baseball?
Well, maybe did everybody's body get used to just having to play 60 games last year, and that was it, and not starting until July?
That's right.
So maybe that was it. So the bodies are saying, whoa, this is way too much too soon. What are you doing?
I mean, some of it's not that different. I mean, for Giancarlo Stanton or some of the Yankees, this is the normal, right. Let's get hot for a week and then let's get injured for 6 months.
Right.
But
everybody's taking their lead.
Yeah, but they haven't even played 60 games yet. So
no,
and if it was the case, they can't be tired yet, John, because they didn't.
I mean, the Yankees aren't as injured as the Mets, but between the two New York teams. Right. 2 weeks ago or a week ago, if you looked at both their lineups, you'd be like, "What?
Right?
Who were the starting right fielders or left fielders for the Yankees and Mets last Wednesday?
They have been.
They're not even on the team anymore.
There were some AA players, let alone AAA players, and they've been blowing through them too. It's ridiculous. Right. John Donovan just writes in. He says it's strikeouts and homers and nothing else.
And it's not even that many homers anymore. It's
more strikeouts and homers.
And bad
play.
A lot of strikeouts. More so than ever. And last year, small ball seemed to return a little bit last year, especially because maybe there were so many playoff games that it was such a big percentage of what you watched baseball-wise last year. I mean, it seemed like we had a quarter of a season and then the playoffs. And the playoffs were really kind of, they were entertaining last year. They were competitive.
Right.
This year, it just seems like getting through it. It just seems like inevitably you're going to go to extra innings. And then this idea of making the game shorter, it's just these guys are the fundamentals. If you gave the any team from the 90s, if you took the 90s Mets or Yankees or any team really, and said, hey, you have to win the game. I'm going to put somebody on second. You get 3 outs still, and you just have to score 1 run. I would say 75% of the time, those teams would score a run because they'd be able to. I mean, immediately you would move the guy over to third, and then all it would take was a sacrifice fly to score a run.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean the other team wouldn't eventually do the same thing, but it's amazing how many times you see 11, 12-inning games still. I don't know. It doesn't. The game seems very, very frustrating, and that's what's going to lose. It's not only are you not going to gain new fans, you're going to lose a lot of old school fans.
You are. It's ridiculous.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I can't sit through a game like I used to. I used to be able to watch a baseball game like nothing. Now it's agitating to get to watch a whole game.
There's other good stuff going on too.
True.
I mean, I was sitting right here at this table about 2 hours ago having dinner with my dad, and he said, "So how are the Mets doing?" And I went, I don't really know. They were in first. But they missed a bunch of games, and they were only in first because of the percentage. And I'm not really sure what they've done in about the last 4 or 5 days. I really hadn't been paying attention.
What are they? 7 games over 500.
There's six games over 500.
I had no idea until I just looked at the standings.
They're in first place by 4 games.
Yeah,
so
I had no idea.
They have a 4-game lead in the East.
I had no idea. So I really haven't been paying attention with the NBA and the NHL playoffs going on.
Right.
One thing I'll give the Mets is they seem to beat the teams that they should beat, which is the opposite of the Yankees. I mean, how the Yankees sweep the White Sox and then get swept by the Detroit Tigers is just. I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you. If this continues, if this was George Steinbrenner, Aaron Boone would be gone already.
Probably.
I mean, especially when July comes around, there'd be a change.
Right. And like you talked before, you talked about the injuries, and it continued today for the Mets. I mean, you have Conforto and McNeil have been out with the hamstrings. VR just went out today. He left the game with a right hamstring tightness.
Which is a big loss because he's one of the few guys who can actually. I mean, his on base percentage is way better than his average.
His on base percentage is amazing, and he's got an amazing glove.
And he's a good defensive guy. Yeah. So he's a veteran, and he knows how to play. You know, he knows how to win in those
absolutely
clutch situations. So you got a lot of young and/or guys or older guys who are on their last legs, literally, who are hanging around or being called back because there's just injuries across. I mean, it seems like sports in general. I mean, it really begs the question: are these guys overtrained? Is there something going on in that they're such top-notch athletes nowadays and their athletic ability so much? Are they just putting too much stress on what the body should be doing? Because in every sport, it seems like injuries are as much bigger issue than they used to be. Yeah. In the NBA, you used to have people who were out for a year. You had horrible injuries to people, but you don't have, I mean, they showed a graph of Anthony Davis's injuries from this year. And it was a 12-part list.
He had 12 different injuries this year.
Yeah. About $1 million in injury.
Why not? Yeah. What the hell? The other thing too is as far as the shortening the games and all the other crap that goes on. Keith Hernandez actually came up with a good idea last night. He actually said he would like to see them get rid of this, the run. Well, he doesn't like the runner on second at all, but if they're going to use it, he says use it after the 12th inning. Give it 3 innings of regular baseball, and then if you're going to go beyond the 12th inning, you hit in inning 13 and on, then institute that, runner on second thing.
Then I think you just have a dodgeball game.
You can do that too. Why not?
I don't know. How does that really help?
Well,
if we're still having extra inning games now, and they're not extra inning games where the game ends at 5-5 at the end of 9, and then somebody wins it in the 12th, and they win it like 7-6. They're not. In other words, there's very few games where they put the runner on second in the top of the inning and he scores, and then they put the runner on second in the bottom of the inning and he scores, and it's still tied. Right. They're just not scoring with the runner on second. They're
not scoring at all with the runner on second.
So now you're going to play 3 extra innings of a tie game, which will either have no run scored or the same run scored by each team, and then you're going to have guys put the runner on second and not score.
Think about this though, and it does make a little sense if you look at it like this. These teams are playing a different brand of baseball because that runner's on second, as opposed to having a clean slate, nobody's on base, and they can go out there and play their game, whatever that game may be.
Well, you know what I'm saying? But they're playing the same game they're already playing.
I would argue that they're not doing anything different.
They're all runner bust.
They're just hoping that maybe they can put the bat on the ball.
Yeah, the runner on second, that's an easier, get a base hit.
Right. Well, no, that's the idea, right? Bunt the runner over or get a base hit. Or just put the ball in play, get a whatever. Or even hit a really deep sac fly to right field so he can get over to third. Whatever you want to do, get him over to third, then a sac fly, bring him home.
No outs, man. On second, you bunt him over to third. You get
sac fly
you bunt it to the right side of the infield between the first baseman and the pitcher,
right,
so that they can't go to third. And then you got two. Then you got a chance for a sac fly and or a hit to drive that run in.
Right.
That's called baseball.
Right. Of course.
But that's a lot easier than.
But
nobody can bunt anymore, and it's hard to hit sac flies because they want to put that extra power in there, and they wind up getting under the ball, and all of a sudden it's an infield fly or a bloop just behind the second baseman.
I really do think that any above average to good pitcher, especially relievers in today's major league game, can make these most hitters chase bad pitches.
Yeah.
The Yankees loaded the bases the other day with Sanchez up with a chance to tie the game. And they were down, don't get me wrong. But, it wasn't even close. And the night before, I watched Judge end the game by swinging at 2 really bad pitches and then just taking a rather pedestrian off-speed pitch right over the middle of the plate.
Right.
It's and these are supposedly their stars.
Right.
And I'm not saying anybody else on the team is doing it much better. Clint Frazier got lucky last night because he had a ball right in his wheelhouse, the only place where he can hit the ball.
Right.
And he was swinging for the fences, and he connected. So that's great. But
I got you. Couple stats for you, Mets-wise. DeGrom pitched the other day. Great game. Won it, whatever. His second game back after being out for that time. He threw 600. He had thrown 671 pitches this year before throwing his first curveball the other day. He hadn't thrown a curveball the entire season until the other day.
Really?
Yeah. It was
well, that means his arm is shot. He's done.
He's done.
Trade him. Trade him.
Out of there.
He's done.
I think Harry wants him to go to the Yankees, but
trade him to the Pirates.
He has 8 games this year with 1 earned run or less, and he tied his own record from 2018. So and
he's what 3-5 in those games,
and probably yeah. And there's only been 2 other pitchers on the Mets that have had 7 games with 1 earned run or less in Mets history.
The Mets don't need him to pitch for his pitching. They need him to pitch for his hitting.
I know. No. But who are those 2 other Mets? Who are those 2 other Mets pitchers that have 7
in a single season?
In a single season, yeah.
Give us a hint. How long ago did they pitch?
A while ago. One much longer than the other.
So Seaver, probably?
No, it wasn't Seaver.
Doc?
Nope. Before Doc and before that. Ed Lynch in 1981.
Ed Lynch in
1981.
That was my next guess.
There you go. I knew it was coming right out of your mouth.
Thanks for ruining this.
I would have got to Jane Lynch before I got to Ed Lynch.
and then Nolan Ryan was the other one.
Nolan Ryan.
Okay.
How many years did Nolan Ryan pitch for the Mets? 3?
Year and a half. No, about 3 years. Yeah. 4 seasons.
Were the Mets his?
He was a rookie with the Mets.
It was his first team, right?
First team, yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Now, then they only gave him 1 run of support, and he said,
"But did
I'm out of here."
Was he still on the Mets when Seaver was there? Or was
they were out together.
Yeah, that's what
they were together. Yeah. So, but Seaver stayed.
Can you imagine that if that tandem had
stayed with the Mets for a while?
Seaver. I think Seaver was a pitcher who was able to win more games than Ryan. But I mean, imagine Seaver coming out. You have to deal with that, and then. It would be like Nolan Ryan following up DeGrom right now. I mean, it would just be like, although, they were 2 different pitchers in a lot of ways. Ryan was a lot more of Ryan was kind of like a pitcher is today in a lot of ways. The thing is that when he gave up 5 runs, he still pitched 9, 10, or 11 innings.
Right. Exactly. But if he's giving up 5 runs, his offense was putting up 6 or 7 runs.
Right.
So that was
sometimes.
Not every time, but a lot of times.
Nolan Ryan played for a lot of teams where I think he was a 500 record. I think he was almost as many wins as losses just because he pitched so long. And he he just stayed in the game no matter what.
Exactly.
He didn't get pulled in the 4th inning after 75 pitches.
When there weren't any no decisions for him.
No,
because he was it was his game the whole thing,
right?
Whatever it was, but
and he played on a Texas team that wasn't great,
right?
Yeah, but also when once you throw a couple like 3 or 4 no hitters, they're not going to take you out until you're really terrible. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But to that note, one other thing on DeGrom, he lowered his ERA the other night to 0.71. That's his ERA right now. That's the lowest through May for any qualifying pitcher since 1964. So, he's remarkable. It's just ridiculous. And the Mets overall global pitching wise, they have a 1.81 home ERA and a 4.25 road ERA. So.
Both are. I mean, one is fantastic. The other one's not bad.
4.25 is not bad.
I mean, it's not great, but in today's game, it's
right.
Well, they're only 4 games under 500 on the road.
That's true.
So despite an ERA of 4+, which isn't terrible.
No, not at all. It's not bad at all.
15-5 at home.
Yeah.
And I think we know why. Because they gave up less than 2 runs a game.
Exactly.
I mean, you can kind of stumble, even if you're the Mets, with a bunch of AAA players, you can stumble into a couple of runs a game.
Right.
Somehow. And win 2-1. Yeah. Or 2 to 1.8.
2 to 1.8, yes.
Yeah.
2 to 1.81.
That's the score I'd like to see.
That's the score. That'd be a great score. There we go.
And the Mets win this. Put it in the books. The Mets win 2 to 1.8.
Exactly. And speaking of Mets pitchers, just wearing Johan Santana because yesterday was the 9th anniversary of his no-hitter, the only no-hitter in Mets history. So kudos to Johan Santana. And then what did you say before, Harry? It was the beginning of or Pete, you said at the beginning of the end of his arm.
The beginning of the end of his arm, yeah.
Yeah, that was he threw 136 pitches or 134 pitches that night, I think.
On like a cold.
It was
either it was raining or it was just damp.
It was just a damp, ugly night.
Heavy air, yeah.
Right, yeah. So
not the night you want to be throwing.
Cold humidity, that sucked. Yeah, it was bad.
Exactly, yeah.
So, but hey.
Oh, well.
One other thing on the Mets, really quick. Pilar got his face bashed in by that ball.
Yeah,
he's back in the lineup.
Yeah. He's a trooper.
It's ridiculous. 2 weeks. He missed 10 games. That was it.
Him back. And who's the Fielder's Choice King?
Patrick Mazeika.
Mazeika, yeah. They're going to be like the Warrior brothers for the Mets.
There you go. Exactly.
Just guys that we're going to love on this team.
Exactly. Well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, they're like I said, they're 6 games over 500. They've got a 4-game lead in the NL East, and there you go.
We'll check back in August.
We'll check back in August. There you go.
There's only 100 games left to go.
There's only 100 games left to go. Yankees, on the other hand, Yankees are 5 games over 500, but they trail in the division by 4.5.
Yeah.
What's your take on that, Harry?
They're so inconsistent. They consistently can't score runs.
They're consistently inconsistent.
They're consistently very anemic scoring runs. I think if you were to say they've had some injuries, I think overall the Yankees pitching has performed above what expectations were. Herman, who's been started was assigned, came back. He looked okay. Talion, that experiment, is probably a bust. Maybe. He's had a couple of good games. Kluber was great until he got hurt. Montgomery's up and down. But overall, their bullpen has been fantastic. Their starting pitching has been above average. Cole has been, other than, DeGrom, probably the best starting pitcher in baseball. And they just can't seem to score runs when they need to. And they're suffering from an identity crisis. They just it's times like this where the Aaron Boone, I'm going to change the lineup every day kind of thing, I don't think helps them out very much because there's a lot of guys who are trying to find their groove. And if you're shuffled around too much in the lineup, I don't think it helps you.
Right.
That's one. Yeah.
Yeah. And Sanchez's defense and and it just seems like when he's in the lineup, they become a sloppy team, and the pitchers, it's just nothing is efficient. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I mean, they beat the White Sox. They looked pretty good. They swept them. It looks like they were back. They're splitting with the Rays. They're up 2-1. It's early. They're a good team. They're not a bad team.
Right.
They're just, I think that there's a lot of guys, and a lot of the guys that, it's like, the Yankees version of Street Clothes Davis is Stanton.
Street
Clothes Stanton. I mean, he's out again.
Yeah.
And it's not an insignificant thing. Giancarlo Stanton was the biggest signing the Yankees made since Alex Rodriguez. And I don't think Alex Rodriguez missed season after season with injuries. Mm-hmm. So, it wasn't like Mark Teixeira came and then never played. This is what, they got him for a reason, and he's not in the lineup. He's never in the lineup.
Yeah.
And I'll also say this, they're in a pretty good division,
A very good division.
We expected Tampa Bay to be good. Boston got off to the hot start. They seemed to come back to earth, and we went, yeah, okay, they're coming back to who they really are. But they've picked it up again. Mm-hmm. These are Tampa Bay is 14 games over. Boston's 10 games over. Yankees have 30 wins. 30 wins would put them in second or just behind Cleveland if they were in the Central, and would put them tied with Houston for second in the West.
Right.
Right. And that's not like they're way behind either. But there are two teams in this division that have over 30 wins, and this is the East. That is to say, that's the only division that has those two teams that are over 30 wins. So they're. It's tough. They don't have much room for error. They don't have much of a margin
with the exception of the Orioles.
Right.
Any one of those four teams in the American League East could go to the World Series.
Yeah, Toronto's 28-25, right? Kansas City is a game back of them in the Central. Seattle's 28-28. Angels and Texas are underwater. Detroit and Minnesota's underwater. And in the East, it's just Baltimore, who's exceptionally terrible.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they can't win games. I
think they won.
Obviously,
2 out of 3 from the Yankees.
Yeah, they won a couple against the Yankees. So
all 4 of those teams are good enough to win the American League, but they all have major holes.
Yep.
But every team
has major holes.
Not every team,
but
major
holes,
teams
but has holes.
Have that.
Yeah.
And. Okay. This has been my criticism of the Yankees. It's a lot like what we'll talk about a little bit when it comes to basketball. There are teams that are built for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I don't think this Yankee team is built for the playoffs because they just are not reliably hitting in the clutch. Mm-hmm. And their most reliable hitter this year is having an off year, and he's at the top of the lineup. And that's, I guess Stanton is playing today, so I was wrong. But he's got a hit, which is great. But their lineup is so inconsistent. They have guys who will put up decent numbers and will occasionally against Baltimore or against that one road trip to Kansas City will put up good numbers. Mm-hmm. But the bottom of their lineup is weaker than it's been in a long time. Right now, after Gleyber Torres, you have Odor is hitting 200, Sanchez is hitting 208.
These numbers.
Andujar is hitting 236. And Clint Frazier, Conan O'Brien, Vinny Conan is hitting 185. And he was the hero last night.
Slightly better than the Mets.
Conan O'Brien or Clint Frazier?
Put Conan O'Brien on second base in the 10th inning. It'd be a lot more entertaining.
Conan Frazier is hitting slightly better than the Mets home ERA.
And look, I'm not saying the Yankees got rid of Mike Tauchman, and Mike Tauchman's not lighting it up, but he's a good defensive center fielder, and he seems to be a better hitter than some. The Yankees have outfield problems. Yeah. They need to go out and get an outfielder.
Yeah. They just sent Mike Ford back down today.
Judge is playing center field tonight.
Judge is playing center field?
He's playing center field tonight. Andujar is playing left field. They got a third baseman who couldn't field playing left field.
Who's playing right field?
Frazier. And Frazier's more.
Conan O'Brien's played.
I don't know why they wouldn't put Frazier in center and have Judge in right. Again, Aaron Boone, I guess
he trusts Judge's glove in center more.
He had one clutch hit in his career, and all of a sudden he's a genius.
Sure.
Hopefully
they hired him on something other than the one clutch hit he had.
Do you think that was pretty much the gist of the interview?
Yeah,
Laren, what do you think you're going to bring to the team? What is it about you that's going to help the Yankees win?
It was between him and Scott Brocious.
Right.
You might remember back in 2004 or whatever year it was.
I don't know. Who was the one? What was his name? Damn it! The blonde left field. Damn it! I can't think of his name.
For the Yankees?
For the Yankees, yeah.
Left fielder?
Left field.
Blonde left field.
What year are we talking about?
Late 90s, early 2000s. Blonde, maybe. Damn it! I'll think of it. It'll come to me. But the same thing, like if he was up for the job, because of a little minor success that he had at one point.
Oh, the guy who smacked all the home runs.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
Wasn't Shane? No.
Shane something.
Shane Spencer.
Shane Spencer. Yeah.
Spencer.
Hit like 10 home runs in 12 games or something.
Yeah. Just like, you're hired.
Had like a good month and a half, and then came out the next year. And
yeah, he was the Brian Doyle of the 90s.
I gotta love it. But in any event,
Spencer wasn't a bad player. You know?
No. I mean, none of them were bad players.
Good.
But
didn't he play for the Mets too?
Shane Spencer, no.
Yeah, he pitched a no-hitter for the Mets.
he pitched, yeah.
I think he played for the Mets.
He had 60 saves in 2005.
Hold on. Let me look it up. Shane Spencer. Okay, here we go. Yep. He played for the Yankees, Rangers, Indians, and New York Mets.
What year did he play for the Mets?
2004.
It had to be like
that
was to come up and down a couple of
apparently.
Tours.
I mean, he had.
It was obviously memorable.
He didn't play very long, but he had 59 home runs and 242 RBIs.
Right.
I mean, he was a replacement player who came in during the strike.
Right.
He was.
He was a replacement player that came in during the strike.
Yeah.
So was Keanu Reeves.
That's right.
But
different sport. But
sport, but whatever. There you go.
Let's see. Oh, wow. Actually, let's see. What did he play here? 185 at bats for the Mets.
I thought I remember him playing for the Mets. How I remember that, I don't know.
281, 4 home runs, 26 homers, 6 stolen bases for Shane Spencer. 52 hits. 52 hits in 204 plate appearances.
There you go.
For Shane Spencer with the New York Mets.
There you go. Had 1,671 career at-bats. His wins above replacement, 4.9. There you go.
That's much better than mine.
This is true. Or mine. Yeah. Actually, the three of us combined, I think, actually. Yeah. But in any event. Couple things. Did you see what the MLB did today?
No, please tell us.
It's the inaugural. Today was the.
I work all day.
John, the answer to all of these questions you have is going to be no.
No.
Okay.
Well, you might.
Did you see what the Mets did today? No.
Well,
did you see what Major League Baseball did today? No. Did you see what happened at the Cubs game?
Nope. I want to let you guys in on a little secret. Since this podcast started, I now know that the Mets are still a team in baseball. And if you say, "Hey, remember 2010 when such and such was the second?" No, I don't.
Well, this isn't a Mets thing. This is a Major League Baseball thing, and a Yankees thing to me. It's and today was the inaugural Lou Gehrig Day.
I did actually see that.
Yes. I saw something about that. I had no idea what it was about, though.
Yeah, today was.
If I'd bothered to do any research for the show, I would have.
This is also the first day of the year where the Colorado Rockies, thanks to the New York Mets, are not in last place.
There you go. Thanks to the New York Mets. Well, they beat a couple other teams too.
No, the Mets beat the Diamondbacks. So
right. The Mets beat
the Rockies jumped up ahead of them now.
Gotcha.
It was nothing the Rockies did. It was just
the fact that Arizona lost.
The Rockies are they playing or are they idle?
I think they're playing, but they probably haven't started yet if they're at home. So
they're playing Texas today.
Yeah.
Or tonight at some point later.
Yeah.
In fact, I got it right.
6:40 p.m. So 10 minutes.
They're playing in 10 minutes.
They're here in Denver. Yeah.
There you go. And then the other thing too. I don't know if you saw this. That there's a lawsuit about to happen that's being filed. A small business advocacy organization in Atlanta is filing a lawsuit against Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred and a couple other people for $100 million for them pulling the All-Star game out of Atlanta.
I saw that. And then obviously that's been on the local, Denver news here.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. They're demanding they move it back to Atlanta, or they're going to file a lawsuit for $100 million.
That's right.
Because that's what they figure.
Rudy Giuliani is their attorney.
Well, it's based on the calculations of how much the small businesses in Atlanta lost based on them moving the and everything. The small businesses lost.
But the game hasn't happened yet, so
they
haven't lost anything.
They haven't lost anything yet because nobody else gained anything. So, but so it was filed. But what are you going to do? I digress.
I don't know. $100 million. That doesn't seem much. How?
Well, they said places make that. Towns make anywhere from I think it was like $39 million to $190 million. I think was the range.
No, but isn't baseball like a $3 billion a year industry or something like that?
A year, yeah. But this is just for the
and baseball is a private is a private company that has a right to do whatever the hell they so choose.
True story.
Yeah.
I'm just saying every team could kick in like $3 million and go, here you go.
$3 million. Here's your money. Go.
Here you go. Get the fuck out of here. We're baseball, and you're not getting the game back.
Right, yeah.
I do want to go see the home run derby if I can get in. That would be great.
There you go. You could do that.
You get a crate and go stand by the fence.
By the way, Clint Frazier is on a tear because he just singled the center and drove in 2 runs. So the Yankees have scored 4 runs, and it's the bottom of the 4th inning.
There you go. Bottom of the 4th. 4-1 Yankees over the Rays. Amazing. Yeah, that's pretty much the just looking around the league too. I mean, the Giants continue to impress out in the West for the National League.
Who would have thought that, right?
It's amazing. It really is. I mean, they're only 1 game up on the Padres, but
but everybody predicted the Padres to be where they're at.
Exactly.
Here, I was going to say here's where the offense is, which is the National League West, but it's not really because I was looking at the run differential.
Right.
The Mets are +6. 6 games over +6.
Mm-hmm.
Miami is +6. They're 5 games under.
Right.
Cubs +38.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one other team that St. Louis is +1 in the Central. Everybody else is
below, yeah.
Underwater. San Francisco +62. San Diego +75. The Dodgers +72.
Yeah.
But if you look at the runs scored, now the Mets particularly anemic, 179.
Mm-hmm.
But the Braves 254, the Cubs 255, San Francisco 262, 268, Dodgers 284.
Mm-hmm.
So, really even San Diego and San Francisco close to, let's say the Cubs or, within 25 runs of St. Louis.
Sure.
But their defense is so much better.
Yeah. What does that tell you about the Mets, though? Well, first of all, remember
it tells you their pitchers. But look, the Yankees have the least amount of runs in the American League East. They have 2 less than Boston and 60 or 70 less than everybody else.
Right.
But they've also they've given up under 200 runs, so they're still +10.
Absolutely.
So that's my point. Is that if the Yankees were even in the 240s or 250s where they should be right now, they probably have another 4 or 5 wins.
Yeah. Keep in mind the Mets have the lowest amount of runs scored in the entire
173.
league.
Yeah, that's
the entire league.
That's video game stuff.
Well, they have
Boston's
but they've also played 30 games less than everybody else because of all the postponements.
But they've only given up 173 runs.
Right.
But then you look at Oakland, who's 7 games over and -5.
Look, can we at least at this year's American League All-Star Game, can we just give an award to the Oakland A's? Because they are perennially really good, and I'm not sure even diehard baseball fans can name somebody on the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
That Mercedes guy.
Yeah. Him. Jump on that one.
Mercedes Cespedes, isn't it?
There you go. Well, that's the other thing too. I mean, you said they're -5, but they're 7 games over. Did they have a couple of huge blowouts? I mean,
they must have had a few.
I'm just they
must have had a few.
That's crazy.
I mean, Mark Canha, who's I think he's hitting 380. I'm sorry, he's got 36 RBIs. Mm-hmm. 50 hits already, 14 home runs. It's just, but they're not lighting it up average-wise. They know how to play baseball.
Right. Then the White Sox are going on a tear too. They're +79.
They are.
That's amazing. But anyway, that's all. That's all I got for baseball today.
I think that's enough.
I think it is. I think that means we should go to our top 10 list. What do you think?
Yeah.
Let's go to our top 10 list.
Our top 10 list this week is top 10 left fielders in Major League Baseball history. Top 10 left fielders in Major League Baseball history. In true Get On With It podcast fashion, we have 13.
Not all of them are left fielders.
And
they are today.
A few of them are catchers. Some didn't even play baseball, but they're on our list.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know how Kurt Gowdy made it onto this list. But,
So we even put.
And he's not even 13th.
He's not exactly.
Oh, I thought it was top 10 leftists.
Oh, gotcha. All right. I was wondering why you had him listed.
Are you telling me that Che Rivera was not a left fielder for the Padres?
Well, I had Mark Swan and Rivera. I had Bernie Sanders as the old balls.
Bernie Sanders was old balls tonight.
Well, that's true.
He's old balls every night.
I think that's actually true. He's just not in baseball.
There you go. All right. So top 10 left fielders in Major League Baseball history. We'll start it off with, we have a tie for 10th. We'll start it off with number 10, Jim Rice. James Edward Rice, to be exact. Jim Ed is his nickname. 8-time All-Star. AL MVP winner in 1978. 2-time Silver Slugger Award winner. 3-time American League home run leader. 2-time American League RBI leader. His Boston Red Sox number 14 is retired. He's in the Boston Red Sox Hall of Fame, and of course, he is in Cooperstown. Lifetime batting average 298, 2,452 hits, 382 home runs, and 1,451 RBIs. What do you think, Harry?
I think the Red Sox have the best left fielders. I mean, if you had to say which team has, I think they have 3 on this list.
There's 3 on this list, yeah.
Or 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah,
4. I mean, left field is owned, and it's an odd left field, but it seems to be owned by the Red Sox. Jim Rice was a great player. I mean, in the days when he played with the Yankees Red Sox rivalry, which was a big thing back then, he was always my favorite Red Sox. He just seemed like he was their best player on a team full of really good players.
Oh, yeah. He
was consistently clutch. He didn't really say much. It doesn't seem like, They had some weird teams back then, but he was one of the best players in baseball, and I think probably the best left fielder of the 70s. When you think about it, unfortunately, he never really broke through with those Red Sox teams to make it to the World Series. I felt he deserved to be on this list, and he was a good defensive left fielder. Obviously, playing off the Green Monster is not easy, and 300 lifetime hitter, and did it for a long time.
Yes, he did. That's for sure.
Yeah, he would have been my number 11. And
he was quiet. I mean, he's kind of the forgotten Red Sox star.
Right. Yeah, and his numbers don't really belie the impact he had. I mean, they're not that they're bad. I mean, he was a 300 hitter and 2,400 hits and a little shy of 400 home runs. They're excellent numbers. But he was much bigger than those numbers. He was feared.
Yeah.
He was the guy you did not want to face.
And I'm not sure he had the 20 or 21 year career. I mean, I think he did have some injuries there, which I don't know how many years he played, but I'm guessing he played 16 years.
16 years.
16 years. Yeah. I mean, his 162 game average is 298, 352, 502 for slugging.
Yeah.
And 30 home runs, 113 RBIs.
He did play the bulk of that in an era where hitting, averages were down, pitching was dominant. So I mean, he was bigger than his numbers with that.
And they were playing how many games a year against some really great Yankee teams. And good Oriole teams. And the Orioles were good then.
Yeah, and the Royals and the Angels, and I mean, the American. There was a lot of really good competition, especially in the East. Yeah, this was prior to the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, it was basically just the Yankees, Red Sox, Orioles, and
but it was prior to the reorg. There was no Central then, so it was just East and West. So you had the
Royals. No,
the Royals were West.
Royals were in the West.
You had the Tigers were in there.
Tigers, that's right.
The White Sox, the others, yeah.
And you had to win to get in. You had to win,
right,
to play in the pennant, and then it was tough. It was tough.
Exactly. All right. Well, there you go. Number 10, tied for number 10, Jim Rice. So move on to our other number 10, tied for number 10, Mr. Goose Goslin. Leon Allen Goose Goslin, to be exact, played for the Senators, the Browns. The Senators became the Twins, and the Browns became the Orioles. So played for the Senators, the Browns, Senators again, the Tigers, and finished up his career with the Senators. So there you go. He was an All-Star 1 year in 1936, two-time World Series champion in 24 and 35. Both of them, well, one with the Senators and one with the Tigers. And AL batting champion in 28, AL RBI leader in 24. He's in the Washington Nationals Ring of Honor. I like how the Washington Nationals, this is the second one. We had that this last week, too. The Washington Nationals have assumed the
Washington Senators.
The Washington Senators history as opposed to giving it to the Twins.
That's right. It's like the Oklahoma City Thunder assuming the Seattle Supersonics.
Right. And the Browns got their history back from the Ravens, and the Ravens are just like cut off and start when they move. So anyway,
they didn't exist before they moved.
They didn't exist before they moved. Exactly. He's in Cooperstown, of course, having been inducted in 1968. Lifetime batting average 316. 316.
Yeah.
2,735 hits, 248 home runs, and 1,612 RBIs. Goose Goslin.
Personally, I would have put him on the closer list. All those great years with the Yankees. I had no idea he had a whole nother career as a left fielder.
I didn't know there was more than one Goose.
He didn't have a left fielder's body, that's for sure.
Does that make it a gander?
There you go. Goose.
Or gaggle.
What's good for the Goslin is good for the Gossage.
It was a gaggle.
Exactly.
Yeah, practically a gaggle of gooses in Major League Baseball.
A lot of goose. A lot of geese.
A lot of G's and O's.
Geese.
Oh, geez.
I think if it's two, it's gooses.
Goose.
But don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
That's probably
goose
not
geese.
right.
I think it's geese. I think it's a gaggle. It's a gaggle of geese.
Gaggle of geese.
Unless it's two, and then it's gooses.
All right.
But that's not true.
Not at all. But for now,
but I'm going to keep saying it.
Keep saying it. Why not? There you go. Anyway.
Yeah, listen, those are pretty darn impressive numbers. An 18-year career.
Yeah.
18-year career. And I'm shocked that he was only All-Star once.
I think back then there was, again, I just think there wasn't as many people chosen for All-Star teams. The All-Star game could have also started, after he had already been in the league for a number of years. They didn't have the All-Star game.
Right, they started it. They started the All-Star game. They could have started the game. Yeah, when did it start? We'll have to look at that. Jimmy, get on that.
I think it was in the 50s, was it not?
Well, no, it would have been in the 30s. He was an All-Star in 1936, so it had to be at least in the 30s. So.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, we'll check in on that and get back to you. Anyway,
tied
with
first Major League Baseball All-Star game was 1933.
There you go. So he played for 13 seasons before it 12 seasons before it was
there you go.
There you go. Exactly. All right. So he definitely obviously would have had probably 10 or 12 more had the All-Star game started before that. So there you go. Number 10 tied for number 10, Goose Goslin. Let's move on to number 9. Number 9 tied for number 9 is Billy Williams.
Billy D. Williams.
No, Billy Leo Williams. So Billy L. Williams, to be exact. Not Billy D. Billy L. It's his brother. Yeah. He was on the Cubs and the Oakland A's. 6-time All-Star. NL Rookie of the Year in 61. NL Batting Champion in 72. His number 26 on the Cubs is retired. He's in Cooperstown. Lifetime batting average 290. 2,711 hits. 426 home runs. And 1,475 RBI. So, they're Billy Williams. Not to be confused with Billy D.
Yeah. Whoever dug him up, good job.
There you go.
I don't think he was on my list, was he? He didn't come across my radar. So yeah.
He was,
he's kind of they say he's kind of overlooked because he never won a World Series or whatever.
Right.
But
a lot of people on our list today never won a World Series.
That's true.
In fact, I think this is the first list where the vast majority
did not
win one. Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons they cite that he doesn't have as much notoriety or. He wasn't on a World Series team. But listen, 72, he went 333, 398, 606 for the slug or for the slugging. And ops just over 1,000. So
and he went out to Oakland. He just missed, being in
he missed those. The what's the word I'm looking for? Not franchise, but what's when you win?
Dynasties.
Dynasties. There you go. Yeah. There you go. The word I was looking for was dynasty.
He missed that.
Dynasty.
Those A's teams, man. They were pretty darn good.
They were good.
Somebody needs to do.
They had a good right field. They had a good right fielder there too, didn't they? Those A's teams.
Back then he was a different player.
He was.
Well,
we'll talk about him when we get over to.
They had a good left fielder too.
Yeah. Apparently, there you go. Anyway, all right. So tied for number 10, Billy Williams. Also tied. Number 10. Tied for number 9, Billy Williams. Also tied for number 9, Ed Delahanty. Edward James Delahanty. Big Ed, as he was known to his buddies. Played for the Quakers in the late 1800s.
Of course he did.
The Philadelphia Quakers, the Cleveland Infants he played for.
That's
and
right.
Then for the Phillies and the Senators. National League batting champion in 1899.
The Infants. I mean, if there was still a team named the Infants today, then I think there would be some people up in arms.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. You can't. Infants can't play baseball. What are you talking about? Two-time National League home run leader, 1893 and 1896. Three-time National League RBI leader and National League stolen bases leader in 1898. And
they never found him either. He hit them well.
He hit them very well. He hit 4 home runs in one game on July 13th, 1896. He's on the Philadelphia Phillies Wall of Fame. Of course, he's in Cooperstown. Lifetime batting average, 346. 346. Amazing. 2,596 hits, only 101 home runs. Put the ball in play. He liked to play. What's that called that they don't do anymore?
Baseball. How many doubles did he have though? I mean, this is back when the stadiums were enormous.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, you were. It was
the outfield was.
The outfield was like you had to hit the ball literally a quarter of a mile.
Yeah, playing the outfield wasn't easy. Yeah.
Right. 1,464 RBIs, 455 stolen bases.
Yeah.
Big Ed Delahanty.
And 1902, 376, 453, 590, and 1.043 for the Ops.
There you go.
Those are all league best. Oh no, the batting average was the American League best. Everything else was league best. Any batted 410 in 1899. Yeah, not bad.
His picture here with it too is he's wearing a tie with an overcoat. That's his picture. It's not a baseball uniform.
He'd like to have the tie so he could wipe his hands down.
Street Clothes Davis took it.
They didn't have rosin back then, so he used the tie.
Exactly. There you go. Anyway, also tied for number 9, Ed Delahanty.
I think we went farther back for him than anybody else, right?
He's the furthest back we went.
He ended his career in the very early 1900s.
He played until 86, where he was a journeyman for the Seattle Mariners.
He was 163 years old. Like Joe Louis was 136 years old.
He was part of the expansion of the Seattle Mariners.
Exactly. And he hit 297 that year. So.
He did.
Unfortunately, he stopped playing baseball because he passed away, actually.
Yes. 3 years before that, but still.
I know.
Yeah.
But I see where you went there.
He led the league in hit by pitches.
Yeah, but his stolen bases were way down.
Way down.
It was.
He got picked off a lot too.
He died while he was swept over Niagara Falls in early July 1903. He was apparently kicked off a train by the train's conductor for being drunk and disorderly. The conductor said Delahanty was brandishing a straight razor and threatening passengers after he consumed 5 whiskeys. This is all alleged, folks. Anyway, after being kicked off the train, he made his way to the International Railway Bridge, and and the rest is unfortunate. There you go. That's how he met his demise. But amazing baseball numbers prior to that. So, there you go. And four of Delahanty's brothers, Frank, Jim, Joe, and Tom, also played in the big leagues. There you go. So also tied for number 9 at Delahanty. Let's move on to number 8. Number 8 is none other than one of Radio Pete's favorite left fielders, Manny Ramirez. Manuel Aristides Ramirez Onalcida. I think I got it right, but I'm not trying it again. So there you Played for the Cleveland Indians, the Boston Red Sox, the Los Angeles Dodgers, White Sox, and finished up his career with the Rays. 12-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion with the Sox in 04 and 07. World Series MVP in 2004. 9-time Silver Slugger Award, 2-time American League Hank Aaron Award, American League batting champion in 02, American League home run leader in 04, American League RBI leader in 99. He's in the Boston Red Sox Hall of Fame. Will he ever get to Cooperstown? That's a question. Batting average, lifetime batting average, 312. And that's currently, that's more recent than the 300s back, 100 years ago. 2,574 hits, 555 home runs.
And he hung around a while.
1,831 RBIs.
Yeah,
he played for
20 years.
He played for
19 years.
19 years. 19 seasons he played.
Well, and didn't he play in somewhere not in the U.S.?
Yeah, he played for the Toronto Blue Jays.
He played for like a South American team, or
he played for the Boston Red Sox. That's kind of in the U.S.
Yeah, he played in the Oakland Athletics system in 2012. In 2013, he went to
Japan or something.
Chinese Baseball League in Taiwan.
Chinese, okay. There we go.
The EDA Rhinos he played for.
Yeah. Look, Manny was a great hitter. He was a charismatic player. He was a great figure for baseball. He was a lot of fun. I loved him, but he was a juicer.
He was the Ron Artest with better stats of baseball.
Yeah. But, I think he was one of those guys who had talent and obviously was doing good things before the needle. Mm-hmm. But, he used and he got
somebody else that might be or might not be on this list.
Well, they're on the list, but they're a little farther down maybe than at least on my list. But, that's kind of the mark against him. I think he got suspended twice, right?
Yeah,
for illegal substances.
And it's too bad because look, Manny Ramirez is one of those guys who I never wanted to like, but as I remember actually rooting for the Red Sox the first year that they had a chance to win the World Series. Second year, not so much. Second time, not so much. But Manny Ramirez was a hell of a baseball player, and I think. Unlike somebody else who's going to be on this list, I think the Ramirez, the PEDs were more for overcoming injuries, which I'm not justifying it by any means.
Doesn't make it right, but
But I feel like him and Clemens, it was more about that. I don't really think you saw a huge difference in his physique. It wasn't like he didn't hit home runs. He was kind of a complete hitter. He wasn't just a power hitter.
Right.
He was always a horrible outfielder or just crazy. You never know, what he was going to do. But he was a clutch hitter and
21 grand slams
with him and Big
third all time
in the lineup, usually right next to each other in the lineup. The top of that Red Sox lineup was just with,
disgustingly good.
Manny was a guy, if you were flipping through the channels, even if you were not a Red Sox fan, even if the Red Sox were not playing the Yankees and you were a Yankees fan, and if you were flipping through and you hit that channel and the game was on and Manny was up, you stopped.
Yeah.
You stopped to watch and see what he would do.
Right.
He was that kind of a player.
Yep.
There you go. So, number 8, Manny Ramirez. Let's bring it to number 7. Number 7 is Mr. Tim Raines. Timothy Raines Sr., to be exact. Nickname, Rock. He was nicknamed Rock. He played for the Expos, the White Sox, of course, with the Yankees, won a couple World Series. The Oakland A's, back to the Expos, played with the Orioles, and finished his career off with the Marlins. 7-time All-Star, 7 years straight, 81 through 87, with the Expos, of course. 3-time World Series champion, 2 times, obviously, with the Yankees. And he won again in as a coach, I believe, right? 2000, yeah. Silver Slugger Award in '86, National League batting champion in '86, 4-time National League stolen bases leader, and his Expos number 30 is retired. He is a member of Cooperstown. His lifetime batting average 294, 2,605 hits, 170 home runs. 980 RBIs, 808 stolen bases.
Yeah.
808 stolen bases. And and he even managed to manage the Newark Bears in 2011 too. So there you go. He's got that.
Yeah,
he's got that stat as well.
Yeah, not the power numbers that we see from some of these other left fielders, but really good stuff everywhere else.
Right.
And 800 stolen bases is outrageous.
It's insane. Ridiculous.
Yeah, he was not so much a basher, but good hitter, good all-around player, and I think very underrated. I think people who watched him play or who were, obviously a fan of the team that he was on and watched him for a couple of years that maybe he was there would certainly appreciate him, but not that much a known name amongst,
although those Montreal teams were pretty good at that time, and they did, they seemed to, be in the spotlight a little bit.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
During that time. So
yeah, but but with them moving, being disbanded or moving and not existing anymore, all that history kind of ceases to be talked about because
the Nationals are talking about the Senators' history. They're not talking about the Expos' history.
Right, and there's nothing to compare them to. Oh, this reminds me of the Expos team back in whatever year.
Right.
None of that goes on because they just don't exist anymore. So
exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, when I think of the Montreal Expos, he's one of the top 2 or 3 names that come up.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, there were some very, very good players on.
Pedro was a great player on the Expos before.
Not very long, not as long as Raines or Carter.
Of course not, but he was still good. He won his 3rd World Series, by the way, as a first base coach with the White Sox in 2005. Mm-hmm. That's how he won his 3rd one. But amazing with the stolen bases. I mean, great numbers elsewhere as well, but just the stolen bases was ridiculous. 808.
He was a great fielder too, and he was there was something about those Expos teams where they were just these kind of class acts who played the game really well. I mean, you had guys like Andre Dawson and Tim Raines. Who was the other outfielder who went to Baltimore? I don't know.
When?
Ken Singleton.
Oh, Ken Singleton.
And then you had, then later on, or a little bit later on, not too much later, you had Larry Parrish, who I think went to the White Sox after that. Andres Galarraga, who went to the Rockies. I mean, they had some really good players.
Yeah, there was something almost, dare I say, Canadian about them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They were hard workers.
Larry Walker.
Yeah. Larry Walker, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
it was professionals.
A lot of great players.
And Vladimir Guerrero.
Yeah.
Which I don't really think of him. I think of him more as an angel. But I mean, I think when I think of the top Expos, I think it's probably Gary Carter, Tim Raines, and Andre Dawson. That's who I think of. Yep. I mean, that's their Mount Rushmore of the Montreal Expos to me.
We need a 4th.
Well, true.
We're going to do Mount Rushmore. So.
Oh, then we'll put Larry Parrish on there.
There you go. Larry Parrish sounds good. But it just it's a shame that you don't hear more about the history of the Expos.
That'd be nice if they could. They had one of the best logos. I love their uniforms.
And you could, I mean, if you happen to be anywhere near Montreal too, whenever the Mets played the Expos, it was very easy to get a ticket. And very, very.
That's the problem. That's why the Montreal Expos do not exist anymore. The French are not big baseball fans.
Not so much. No.
So. Although now it's all about we want the team back. And
right?
No, they don't.
I don't think they do. But every couple of years we hear talk about maybe we'll expand it to Montreal. Yeah. No thanks.
I think it's too small.
Listen, move one of the Florida teams up there.
There you go.
Yeah, the Florida teams are doing it.
The attendance couldn't be any worse.
No.
Anyway. All right. Number 7, Timothy Raines Sr. There you go. Number 6, here's the throwback for you. Mr. Shoeless Joe Jackson. Joseph Jefferson Jackson, to be exact. Shoeless Joe was obviously his nickname. He played for the Philadelphia Athletics, the Cleveland Indians, and, of course, the Chicago White Sox. He's a World Series champion in 1917. He's in the Cleveland Indians Hall of Fame. And of course, he's not in Cooperstown, and we obviously all know why. But his career batting average, .356. 356 is his career batting average. 1,772 hits, only 54 home runs, and 785 RBIs.
Well, his career was cut dramatically short.
His career was cut, yeah.
Didn't he miss time for both WAR and for betting?
Yeah, well, I mean, he only played 12 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. 08 and 09 for the Athletics, 1910 to 15 for the Indians, and then 15 to 20 for the White Sox. That was it. And then he,
Why was his nickname Shoeless?
His nickname was Shoeless because of an interview published in the October 1949 edition of Sports magazine. Jackson recalls him getting his nickname during a Mill game played in Greenville, South Carolina. He had blisters on his foot from a new pair of cleats, which hurt so much that he took his shoes off before he was at bat. As playing continued, a heckling fan noticed Jackson running to third base in his socks and shouted, "You shoeless son of a gun, you," resulting in the nickname Shoeless Joe.
Shoeless Joe.
There you
go.
Shoeless Joe is better than Shoeless son of a bitch.
Well, yeah. Especially back then, I don't think you'd get away with it.
Right.
Well, he's the son of a gun, but,
Well,
look, Shoeless Joe didn't have the numbers, right? He didn't have a few more years. But I kind of, if you extrapolate his numbers out, then he would have had the numbers. He was just a phenomenal player. Who was it that called his glove where triples go to die?
yeah.
I think that was Teddy Roosevelt.
Teddy.
Maybe I don't know, Teddy Ballgame.
Carry a big
That's right.
glove where triples go to die. There you go.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or was it Sammy Hagar? I can't quite remember.
Could have been.
Maybe.
Could have been.
Yeah, Shoeless Joe is just a phenomenal player.
There you go.
You got, and listen, if you depending on what version of the scandal you read about or whatever, he really didn't know what was going on. And he wasn't actively trying to game the system. He was just kind of a rube.
Exactly. I think he needed Johnny Cochran as his lawyer.
And ironically, he looked a lot like Ray Liotta too. It was just,
that was a most amazing thing.
It was something. It was really something. So, anyway, any of you that don't get that reference, watch a movie. There you go. So we'll leave it at that.
Watch an old shitty movie.
No, it's not a shitty movie. It's a good movie.
It's okay.
It's a good movie. So anyway, number 6, Shoeless Joe Jackson. That brings us to number 5. We got a tie for number 5. First of the tied number 5s is Al Simmons. Aloysius Harry Simmons. He was born Alois Zimanski, and his nickname...
Say that 3 times fast.
But you can call him Al.
You can call him Al, yeah, exactly. Al Simmons. And his nickname, Bucketfoot Al. Bucketfoot Al. There you go. He played for the...
Not to be confused with Buckethead.
Not to be confused with Buckethead. No, Bucketfoot Al. Played for the Philadelphia A's, the Chicago White Sox, the Tigers, the Senators, the Braves, the Boston Braves, the Cincinnati Reds, back to the Athletics, to the Red Sox, and then back to the Athletics again to round up his career. Played 21 seasons. 3-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, 2-time American League batting champion, American League RBI leader in 29, Philadelphia Baseball Walk of Fame. He's in Cooperstown. Lifetime batting average, .334. 2,927 hits, just shy of 3,000. 307 home runs and 1,828 RBI. Aloysius Harry Simmons.
All right.
Al Simmons.
Number 5.
This is kind of one of those guys that say, baseball, if you hit the ball 1 out of 3 times, you're a god, right? Well,
right.
This is one of those guys. 334. There it is, right there.
There it is, right there. Number 5, tied for number 5, Al Simmons. Also tied for number 5, Mr. Ricky Henderson. You thought Al Simmons played for a lot of teams. Ricky Nelson Henley Henderson, nicknamed Man of Steel, played for even more. He played for the Oakland A's, the New York Yankees, back to the Oakland A's, the Toronto Blue Jays, back to the Oakland A's, the San Diego Padres, the Anaheim Angels, back to the Oakland A's, the New York Mets, the Seattle Mariners, the San Diego Padres, the Boston Red Sox, and finished his career up with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He played for 25 seasons. 25 seasons.
Yep.
25 seasons. He was a 10-time All-Star, a 2-time World Series champion, American League MVP in 1990, ALCS MVP in 89, Gold Glove Award in 81, 3-time Silver Slugger Award winner, 12-time American League stolen bases leader. That's what he's known for, right? Rickey Henderson, stolen bases. His Oakland A's number 24 is retired. He's in the Athletics Hall of Fame. He's in Cooperstown. He's got 4 MLB records. 1,406 career stolen bases, 2,295 career runs, 81 career leadoff home runs, and 130 stolen bases in a single season.
Game.
Unbelievable. So there he is, Rickey Henderson. And, of course, Met fans remember him best of playing cards in the clubhouse while the Mets were losing the NLCS to the...
Yeah, the Mets seem to have a lot of memories of great players that were doing some dumbass thing while they were on the Mets. That's really their legacy, isn't it?
I think Rickey had some rough years there. Maybe his head wasn't as clear as it should have been. But yeah, he was a character. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah,
he's a testament to putting up numbers over time, but he was also very, very good to have all those stolen base. And he was one of the first guys, I think last week, or I was talking about, when guys were cut versus when guys were not mostly cut in baseball. They were strong, but they weren't. Rickey was one of the first guys who was cut. Right. And he was just like a little ball of muscle.
He was.
but fleet of foot. He's not heavy.
He flew around those bases. 130 stolen bases in a single season.
Can you imagine the toll that would take on your body?
Oh, unbelievable.
Because he wasn't sliding in feet first.
No.
No.
Oh, he was not.
So, just to do that and then even to...
He was a really good player. He did it for a long time. Went on, I think, and played in the minor leagues then, even after his major league career was over.
Yeah, I think he played for Newark and might have played for the Long Island Ducks.
He knew how to score runs. That was a decent, defensive player. Could play kind of all 4 outfield positions, and knew how to get on base. He was, he's probably the hardest base runner, since Pete Rose. I mean, he was kind of a throwback. He was his own deal. Really, Tim Raines is probably the only person that comes close to being Rickey Henderson-like. But Henderson was even more scrappy. I mean, he was so fast and had so much speed that he had a lot of garbage infield hits that he then turned into 2 stolen bases and then would score on a ground out to second. I mean, he was just that good of a base runner.
Yeah, he was. And he was a coach. He did coach a little bit after too with the Mets.
Yeah.
In fact, he's credited his impact was noticeable on Jose Reyes because he worked with him in 2006 and 2007. But,
by the way, do you guys know who's number 2 in leadoff home runs?
Who is number 2 in leadoff home runs? Please tell us.
He's a Yankee.
Derek Jeter.
Nope. Soriano.
Really?
54.
Jeter hit second most of his career. Alfonso Soriano.
In fact, he holds the record for the most in a single season with 13.
He was a good player. He kind of
his first 2 years were phenomenal.
Right? He was a great player.
Wasn't he like an 80 home run stolen base guy in those first couple of years?
Yeah, he was incredible.
There's like 3 other players that have done that in Major League history or something outrageous.
And a good defensive player. I mean, he was a good player. He just
he was protected by the lineup.
Yeah, he was a systems leadoff guy.
He went. Where did he go to when he left the
Mets?
Yankees?
Right? Didn't he go to the Mets?
Who's that?
Soriano? Did he play for the
I
Mets?
don't know.
No.
He never hit 40 home runs in a season.
West.
How did he play for?
I'll have to look.
Maybe
get on it.
The Mariners.
I want to say Seattle.
Rangers.
Rangers. He went to the Rangers.
Oh, Texas. Yeah.
He came back to the Yankees.
So
I think he had a couple of good years with the Rangers, but nothing like what he did with the.
I mean, he had over 2,000 hits, 1,100, almost 1,200 RBIs, and 412 home runs for all.
Yeah, he actually was on a couple of top 20, I think, or top 15 second baseman lists.
Oh yeah,
that I went through.
He would have. He was definitely on there. He's like
certainly
15,
up there
14.
as far as Yankee second baseman. You have to right. Would you probably put him in the top 5, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, he played for the Yankees for 4 years. So,
but they were really productive years.
They were. I mean, he's kind of a Robbie Cano type player. You know, I think Cano is better overall than Soriano. But yeah, I put Soriano right up there. But you know, he's not Frankie or Willie Randolph type second.
Yeah,
that's But he's probably borderline, top 5 Yankees of all time. I mean, had he played 3 or 4 more years, he probably would be, right up there in the top 3.
Right.
John Donovan said Cubs. Did he go to the Cubs too? Was he on the Cubs?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he played for the Cubs for a while.
Yeah. And of course, when you're talking about the Yankees, you've got, a handful of players at every position who are all-time greats. Right.
And even and some that you forget about, but
right.
He was a really interesting player. He had power. He had speed. He was kind of one of those early versatile guys where he didn't play second base all the time. He kind of was all over the place, mostly at second. But I don't know why the Yankees ever got rid of him. I can't remember.
Who knows?
Was he part of the A-Rod trade?
Maybe it's something to do. Maybe, I don't know.
I think that was it.
Well, if he went,
You know what?
He went down to Texas. Yeah,
I think he was part of the A-Rod trade.
Yes, he was, because I remember I was on the radio and I had a huge fight with my partner about A-Rod not being worth Soriano, and he was a Yankee. My partner Jay was a Yankee fan, and I said, "There's no way A-Rod, who at that time was driving in 140 runs a year, in the midst of or at least coming off the steroid years." And I said there was no way A-Rod was worth Soriano and like a player to be named later.
Right.
And we had this huge argument on the year, and he was talking about, Soriano and the 80 man and all that stuff. But
speaking of Soriano, John Donovan said he struck out a lot. He was ahead of his time.
Yeah,
there we go.
He did. And he went to Texas and his numbers tailed off dramatically.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, he wanted to be in
system
New York.
Guy.
He was a system guy. There you
go.
I
mean,
Ricky Henderson just wrote in. He doesn't mind us using his time for Alfonso Soriano talk.
That's Ricky, right, you were better than him.
Shut up, Ricky. You're lucky you're this high on the
list. Also tied for number 5, Ricky Henderson. All right, that gets us to the top 4. Number 4 is another one of Radio Pete's favorite left fielders on his list, Mr. Barry Bonds. And let's put it this way. Barry Lamar Bonds. Barry Bonds. There you go. He played 22 seasons. He played for the Pirates and the Giants. He 14-time All-Star, 7-time NL MVP, 7-time National League MVP, 8-time Gold Glove Award winner, 12-time Silver Slugger Award winner. I could say that fast. 3-time National League Hank Aaron Award winner. 2-time National League batting champion, 2-time National League home run leader, National League RBI leader in 93. His number 25 is retired with the Giants. He's on the Giants Wall of Fame. Here are his Major League Baseball records. Of course, we know. There's 6 of them. Of course, we know the first one, 762 career home runs, 73 home runs in a single season, 2,558 career bases on balls, career walks, 232 walks in a single season, 609 on-base percentage in a single season, and 863 slugging percentage in a single season. Career batting average 298, 762 home runs, as we previously said. Just missed 3,000 hits, 2935. 1996 just missed 2,000 RBIs, 1,996, and 514 stolen bases, which is not too shabby for a power hitter.
When he came into the league, he was like Reggie Jackson was.
Oh, sure.
I mean, he was a speed guy.
Sure. He's
the only baseball player whose neck size and head size grew 7 sizes during his career.
Sure.
I mean, if there's anybody,
he basically had 2 careers.
Yeah,
what he had.
He had 2 careers. And look, I mean, it was obvious the impact that the steroids had, I think, on Bonds. His body transformed into something that was completely different than when he came into the league. Yeah. And then his numbers are incredible. I mean, he is one of those guys when you look back on it. But Did you ever really get the sense when he was playing that, I never said, oh, I'm looking at the next Babe Ruth, or, oh, we're watching history here. There was just something always about him that and look, this is a comparison, and the guy I'm going to compare him to in basketball, I like a lot better than I liked Bonds. He's kind of the Russell Westbrook of baseball. Okay. His numbers year after year, game after game were always just incredible, but you just knew he was never going to win a championship. You just knew it. There was just something about Bonds. I can't quite really put my finger on it. And when he broke the home run record, I was just like, whatever. There was just, out of all of these guys, he seemed to be the most tainted. I didn't have this reaction to A-Rod. I didn't have this reaction to Manny Ramirez, it seemed like it was Bonds, McGuire, and Sosa that you just saw the difference in their games, and they were incredible power hitters. Mm-hmm. But I think in some ways, Bonds, he's the one guy where I go, I don't know where his numbers would be if it wasn't for the drugs. Right. You just don't know.
You know they'd still be good, though.
They'd still be great.
I
think they wouldn't be where they are, but they would still be really good.
No, I think they would be different because he was – I think he might have hit 20 points higher in average. I think he might have continued to be a guy who could steal bases and hit more doubles, and he probably would have still had the power because he did when he came into the league. He was a phenomenon. He was similar to what Ken Griffey Jr. was coming into the league. He was that type of player. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, he's Barry Bonds, and his personality certain didn't help.
Right. There was an attitude about him, and just all the denial, and I mean, it was so ridiculous that he was just extremely unlikable.
Yeah, John Donovan said he's impossible to relate to. He's a complete jerk.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
So tell us what you really think, John.
Don't hold back, John. Let us know.
He was number 9 on my list, John.
There you go. He said he would have made the Hall of Fame without steroids. He was super talented.
That's what I mean, and that's why I had him.
I think he would have. I agree. I don't disagree with any of that.
If he didn't do steroids and he naturally changed his body the way it was, and he put up the numbers that he did, he would be number 1 on this list.
Yeah.
Because they're just that staggering.
Or even if even if he didn't take the steroids and his numbers just kind of continued along, maybe tapered off a little bit later in his career, but kind of stayed similar to what they were early. Mm-hmm. He'd be really close to number 1. I mean, he was a phenomenal player. And I think that's one of the things about the steroids is there's like almost an element of greediness. You're already such a great player, and you're going to be one of the all-time greats unless your career gets cut short by injury or something. Well, but that, that overwhelming necessity, that need to, not just break the home run record, but smash it or whatever.
I don't
know. There was just something so distasteful about it.
Right. I think he cared about that more than he cared about anything else.
Well, he did. Yeah. He got jealous of Mark McGuire, said, I'm going to do what he did.
Yeah. And there was something to me so distasteful about it. It just, he's unlikable.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Number 1 in our hearts, Barry Bonds.
Barry Lamar Bonds. All right.
What a joke.
Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is known to his friends as Yaz. Carl Michael Yastrzemski.
Another Red Sox. Played his entire career for the Red Sox as well. He played 23 seasons. 15 of them where he looked like he had 2 broken legs playing the outfield.
Yeah, pretty much. 18-time All-Star. AL MVP in 67. Triple Crown he won in 67 as well. 7-time Gold Glove Award winner. 3-time American League batting champion. American League home run leader in 67. American League RBI leader in 67. 67 was a good year for Carl.
It really was.
His number 8 was retired by the Red Sox. He's in the Red Sox Hall of Fame. Of course, he's in Cooperstown. Lifetime 285 batting average, 3,419 hits, 452 home runs, and just a little shy of 2,000 RBIs, 1,844. Carl Michael Yastrzemski. This continues on the whole, Red Sox have a lot of great left fielders in their history.
Yes, they do.
Really.
Yeah. Here's some numbers. What is the difference between an at bat and a plate appearance?
Well, if there are certain plate appearances which don't count as an at bat because you're let's say you're at bat and somebody's thrown out at second base
and that ends the inning.
Then
that's
And do walks count as an at bat? I don't think they do.
At bat, yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
okay. Well, no, because it doesn't.
No, maybe not.
No, a walk does not count as an at bat.
So it's
because I'm looking at his numbers. He had just shy of 14,000 plate appearances, 13,992, and 11,988 at bats. So almost 2,000 less. So yeah, the walks
don't count because if you walk, it doesn't go against your batting average. So an at bat has to be something that impacts your batting average.
If you come to the plate 5 times in a game, and you strike out 3 times and walk 2, you're only 0 for 3.
If you're intentionally walked, or if something else happens on the field where your at bat is not brought to completion. Mm-hmm. Then those do not count. There's a plate appearance, but not an at bat.
Right. All right. Well, I'll just throw these numbers at you because these are the ones that stuck out to me. All right. So it's 13,992 plate appearances, 1,393 strikeouts. So basically 1 out of every 10.
10. Well, little less than 1 out of every 10.
Yeah.
He was a free swinger.
Yeah. Which is, pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
Certainly by today's numbers.
Exactly. It's and a lot of that happened back then too. I mean, there was obviously, we've talked about this, and everybody else has over and over and over again. There were just so many strikeouts. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy who had 450 home runs,
it was the era too.
Strike out that little.
If you look at towards the middle to the latter part of Yastrzemski's career, you had a lot of guys who were, the MVPs, all-stars, whatever the case might be. There was a higher rate of strikeouts. I mean, there was great pitching during the heart of Yastrzemski's career. Mm-hmm.
This is true, very true. So that'll that's the third Red Sox on our list. Number 3, Carl.
This is all-time great Red Sox left fielder.
Apparently.
Top 10.
There you go. So let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is another controversial fellow, if you will, Mr. Pete Rose. Peter Edward Rose Sr., Charlie Hustle.
I don't think he's controversial.
Oh, well, he's controversial when it comes to the Hall of Fame. Other than that, I know. Played for the Reds, the Phillies, the Expos, and the Reds again. And he managed the Reds for 6 years.
And played every position except what? Shortstop?
He played, and he played he played for the the Reds from his second stint with the Reds from 84 to 86, and he managed all those years as well. Yeah. So I guess you could say he is the last player manager.
Right.
At that point, because that's the mid-'80s right there.
Yeah.
17-time All-Star. 17-time All-Star. I'll just repeat that.
Yeah.
3-time World Series champion. National League MVP in 73. World Series MVP in 75. National League Rookie of the Year in 63. 2-time Gold Glove Award winner. Silver Slugger Award in 81. Roberto Clemente Award in 76. 3-time National League batting champion. His number 14 with the Reds is retired. He's in the Reds Hall of Fame. He's on the Major League Baseball All-Century team. Here's 5 Major League Baseball records that this man holds. 4,256 career hits. 3,215 career singles. 3,562 career games played. 14,053 career at-bats. And 15,890 career plate appearances. His career batting average, .303. Again, we talked 4,256 hits, 160 home runs, 1,314 RBIs, and his managerial record wasn't too shabby either, 412 and 373. He's a .525 winning percentage.
That ain't bad.
Not at all. Not too
I
shabby.
mean, look, I think Pete Rose his reputation was tarnished, and now I think he's kind of forgotten a little bit. Mm-hmm. Just due to time.
Yeah.
I'm
not sure if you're starting an all-time baseball team I'm not sure you can't put Pete Rose on there. I mean, I would put him in the top.
I think you have to.
As long as you're not having that all-time baseball team playing Cooperstown, then you can put Pete Rose on there.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think he's one of those guys who's, to me, he's definitely a top 10 baseball player of all time.
Yeah, he really is. He really is.
I mean, he's unbelievable.
And
he did it. He did it for a long time, and it wasn't like he was, DHing. I mean, he played first base, but he was still an intense guy, and I'm kind of the heart and soul of that Phillies team that won, the World Series. Yeah, they had bigger names at the time, Schmidt and others, but he showed up. Mm-hmm. He showed up, and his postseason numbers are really good.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Yeah, and he played in a lot of postseason games.
He did. He played in
many
postseason games.
And in that era, you had to win, your division to get in. So it wasn't like you had five layers of
exactly. There were no wild cards. No, you won your you won your East or the West or whatever division you were in, and that was it. He won 3 World Series. He won 2 with the Reds, and he won 1 with the Phillies.
I mean, some people argue that that was the best baseball team of all time. Or the
Big Red Machine was.
Yep. And I would have to say he was the best player on the team.
I would say that. I mean,
there's another guy who was almost on my list who was on that team who should, reconsidering it. He could be in the top 11 or 12 on this list, but I think Pete Rose is easily in the top 10 baseball players of all time. And I'm not sure there's a lot of people that would share our opinion of that. I think there's a lot of people who bump him down quite a bit. But as an all-around player.
Well, that's it. That's kind of the Hall of Fame argument, right?
Right.
As you say, well, he gambled on baseball and he broke the rules and therefore he can't get. But you look at the Hall of Fame and there's a lot of unsavory characters in there.
Sure.
Right.
That's for sure.
And there are guys who, I don't want to compare who did worse things or whatever, but
yeah, right.
And here's the thing about Pete Rose. I don't think he's not in the Hall of Fame necessarily just because he gambled, but because he was so obstinate about it.
Yeah.
Like with Bonds, right? He just didn't admit it for decades. And, I think that's had as much impact as keeping him out because we all know that he did it. Right. And I'll say this, if you're willing to believe that guys, and I'm not saying you're an idiot if you believe it. I'm not saying that. If you believe that guys took steroids or growth hormone or substances to help them recover from injury, not because they wanted to get stronger or whatever, I don't think it's much of a stretch when Pete Rose said, "I never bet on us to lose."
No, right. and he wasn't the only guy who did it. Guys used to bet all the time back in the day.
Right. Well, but they weren't managers.
No.
But as competitive as he was, right? The ultra competitor, look what he did to Ray Fosse in the damn All-Star game, for crying out loud. Right? This is not a guy who was going to bet against himself, the team that he was managing,
he's an ultimate competitor, much like Michael Jordan, who would bet on everything.
Right. So if you can believe they took steroids to help them recover from injury, I don't think it's much. Any greater of a stretch to say Pete Rose bet on himself to win all the time.
No,
he has a gambling problem, and he bet on himself to win all the time.
And my argument with Pete Rose is that if he took steroids, he might still be playing.
very, very likely. Very likely.
I'll tell you what, if you want to feel sad, go to the official Pete Rose website.
Yeah,
he's got
a MySpace page.
He's got baseballs and stuff, autographed baseball. You can buy dinner with Pete Rose, like you and 12 of your friends, and he'll sign baseballs for everybody right there at the
I wonder how much it would cost to get him on the podcast.
I don't know, but
Jimmy, get on that.
Jimmy, empty your wallet.
Pay for it. Get it
going. With what we pay Jimmy, I don't think
he has enough.
But I was looking at it last.
It is kind of sad.
It is. Yeah, there's
a lot of
it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon that professional athletes have to do insane things just to try and make money.
Make a couple bucks now, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You see it a lot. You see a lot of these signings and everything else.
Look at Joe Namath doing that bullshit Medicare commercial thing.
I had exactly.
It's sad.
There was at a tavern, not tavern, like a big restaurant bar kind of thing, not too far from me, down in Brick. There was Lawrence Taylor was going to be there, and I was talking. I was like, maybe I'll grab my jersey and go down and have him autograph it. So I looked on really quick just to check it out. It was $300 if I brought my own jersey in there and wanted him to autograph it. And plus, there was a fee to get in. Plus, I had to pay him $300 for him to autograph the jersey. I'm like, you know what?
And how close were you to doing it?
I wasn't.
Oh,
if it was $100, I might have thought about it, but $300 just
$300 or a gift of equal value. Slid under the
wink,
slid under the jersey.
I don't know. That might be worth it, right? Coke's pretty cheap these days.
That's right.
Did I say that? I meant
Coca-Cola.
It's $300.
I would have brought Pepsi. I would have brought Pepsi.
Signed. It's $100 to do Coke.
There you go. Anyway,
you have to bring $300 worth, and it's $100 to get it.
He'll give you $100.
I feel bad. There's a couple of John Donovan comments I'm going to throw up really quick. But while I'm reading these, John, let us know how you feel about the $300 for Lawrence Taylor's signature too. He said, as far as Pete Rose goes, he said he got more out of his talent than anyone in baseball history, but he still thinks that Bonds, Yaz, and Ricky were better players than Mr. Rose.
I like Ricky Henderson. I had a hard time putting him in my top 10. I think I had him at number 9. I disagree. I can't even fathom thinking that Ricky Henderson is a better player than Pete Rose. It's like saying, John Starks is better than, Michael Jordan. It's just, I'm sorry. I disagree.
He did say that he's the greatest singles hitter of all time.
Singles count.
Right. And he did say, no way on the 300.
Yeah.
He's flooded the market for his autograph.
Yeah.
I think
you redeemed yourself with that one, John.
I think he flooded his market for the autograph. Was
Pete Rose not the all-time hits leader? Am I missing
Pete
something
Rose,
here?
Not Lawrence Taylor.
Pete Rose was the all-time hits leader, right?
He is.
Yeah. 4,256 career hits.
By a lot.
Mr. Donovan, with all due respect, I would think you should go and look at some of Pete Rose's stats. And three-time champ, maybe the best player on the best team of all time. Come on. Ricky Henderson.
Well, they're different players, right? They're different players.
Well, but they're kind of similar in some ways. Neither of them really hit for power. I mean, I would say Rose was just a great all-around hitter. He didn't hit a ton of home runs, but he was. They were both great. Primarily lead off or top of the order hitters.
Oh, right. And then I mean, but they again, like the different hitters, right? They scored runs. Ricky Henderson has the lead off home runs record, and obviously the
all-time stolen
bases record. So it depends on how you're looking at it and where you're coming from.
The object of baseball is to score runs.
Right.
Okay.
I gotcha. Yeah. Well, how many? You know what? Get on that. How many runs did Pete Rose score, and how many runs did Ricky Henderson?
Pete Rose scored. Let's see here.
2165.
2,165 runs were scored by Pete Rose. How many did Ricky Henderson score?
I don't know. Not that many.
Hang on.
2,000.
Porcello, Ricky Bonus, Ricky Vitalico.
Ricky Ricardo.
Henderson? Oh, geez, you'd think he would be at the top of the list.
You would think it would be.
Well, give me a minute. Talk about something else.
Pete Rose also scored 30 runs in postseason play in 67 games. Mm-hmm. He had 86 hits in 67 postseason games and hit 321 with an on base of 388 and a slugging of 440.
Right.
Ricky, 2295.
2295.
So what? About 100 more.
About 100 more.
Yeah, they're both great.
Yeah. And he just said his reasoning. He said Ricky got on base more and had more power.
Pete Rose had like 1,200 more hits. Yeah, that's that's 6 seasons of 200 hits a season,
and a batting average that was 40 points higher.
Yeah. I don't know, but it's 40 points higher. Hold on,
30-something points higher. What did Ricky Henderson hit? 270?
279.
279.
Okay.
Versus 303.
25 points higher.
24 points higher,
yeah.
All right.
They were both great players, but
they really were. They were. You know what? Well, look, they
kind of did the same thing in different ways.
Right.
You know, they both scored a lot of runs. Ricky caused havoc on the base paths. Pete Rose did too, to a certain extent. Obviously, he didn't have the same speed, but
here's the difference too. And we got to talk about this really quick 1 second before we move on to number one. Pete Rose could have been on almost every one of our lists so far.
Yeah,
right.
Right. As a first
the exception
baseman.
At best catchers.
Yeah. Right. Well, a catcher or pitcher. Yeah, exactly. Right. But he played every position.
Yeah.
And did well at every position. So. He might not have even been on this list if we put him on first base.
Well,
and put him on center field.
And I'll say this about Ricky Henderson. I think he's one of the most underrated baseball players.
He's definitely underrated. Yeah.
I mean, he's in the top 10 left fielders. When I first think of left fielders, Ricky Henderson really wasn't what jumped to the top of my list. But then you look at what he's accomplished, and you're like, Ricky Henderson deserves to be there, and he played a long time, and he did win. He wasn't a big part of the Toronto team that won, but he was on it.
He was on it. He was there. He was definitely there. There you go. And where am I? There we go. So number one, Peter Edward Rose. Let's bring this around to number one. Number one is Mr. Ted Williams. Theodore Samuel Williams. Teddy Ballgame, the Kid, the Splendid Splinter, and the Thumper. A lot of nicknames for this gentleman. He played his entire career for the Red Sox. Of course, he managed the Senators and the Rangers after that too. But
just crazy to think, right?
Mm-hmm. He 19-time All-Star, 2-time American League MVP, 2-time Triple Crown winner, 6-time American League batting champion, 4-time American League home run leader, 4-time American League RBI leader, Major League Baseball career record. 482 on-base percentage. 482 career on-base percentage. It's a Major League Baseball record. His number 9 for the Red Sox is retired. He's in the Red Sox Hall of Fame. He's in the San Diego Padres Hall of Fame. Jimmy, get on that and find out why. Major League Baseball Century Team and, of course, the all-time team.
But where did the Padres come from?
I don't know. They didn't come from Boston.
No, but I'm sure there was some connection there.
There's got to be. Anyway, he
was he born in San Diego?
Maybe he was. Actually, he was born in San Diego. There you go. Born in San Diego,
there we
California. Go. August 30th, 1918. He was born in San Diego. His career batting average, 344. Career batting average. 2,654 hits. 521 home runs, 1,839 runs batted in. Once again, on-base percentage career 482. And managerial record was not great, but as a player, just trumps that, that's for sure. But he Ted Williams. What more can you say? You just say the name. That's all you got to do.
I mean,
and don't forget,
one of the best ever.
He missed 3 seasons when he went off to war.
He went to war. Yeah, missed 3 seasons. He played.
I think if you talk about best baseball player of all time, I think you're talking about Ted Williams, Stan Musial, or Babe Ruth. Mm-hmm. I think those are the 3. Lou Gehrig's on that list, but when you look at Williams and Musial, I mean, their numbers are very similar. Williams obviously hit for a higher average, but they're just astonishing by today's measures.
Sure.
I mean, and I think we were unanimous in this. I mean, it was an easy number one.
Yeah,
especially with the way that today's game is going, I don't think there's ever going to be anybody to match those numbers. I really don't.
No, not at all.
No. And listen, we talk about he missed 1943 through 45, right?
Prime of his career.
1942, 141 runs, led the league, led the majors. 36 home runs, 137 RBIs, led the majors, 145 walks, led the majors, and he won the Triple Crown.
Yep.
And then he went off to war for 3 years.
And then he went
off to war for 3 years, and then he came back, led the league again two straight years after that in runs scored and walks, and except for 46 He was either the league leader or the majors leader, again, in the Triple Crown categories in 1946 and 47 and 48 and 49, too. So, yeah.
He won the Triple Crown in 47. He was the batting champion in 47 and in 48.
Yeah.
And home run leader in 47 and 49.
The prime of his career. And
there were a lot of great guys in that era.
Imagine what his numbers would have been like. This guy's one of the best of all time.
Yeah.
And he went off not at the tail end or not after his rookie year, right in the dead heart of what was the best.
Isn't he cryogenically frozen too? So he could maybe come back in the postseason this year.
His head is frozen, right? Isn't
just his head?
I think is it John Henry that had his head frozen or something?
Yeah. It's
Jimmy,
statement. Desire, younger daughter chose to have his remains frozen cryogenically.
I think it's his whole body.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's on what is that? What's that cartoon where the heads are alive in the jars? With Bender the robot and Fry.
Robot Chicken.
No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I think Ted Williams has
whatever it is.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So I think we're confusing that, but
we're confusing our sci-fi cartoons.
Sci-fi cartoons for reality. Yeah.
Futurama.
Futurama.
Thank you very much.
Futurama.
Now I can sleep.
There you go, Futurama. But no, it's it's his whole body. He's cryogenically frozen. So yeah, there's not more you can say about it. I mean, it's just unbelievable. You say the name, that's all you need to do. Ted Williams, number 1 left fielder on our list tonight. All right. Shall we move on to our old balls segment? What do you think?
Why
not? Let's get ready for old balls. Old balls. Harry, tell us who our old balls recipient is tonight.
Our old balls recipient tonight is someone who I think I screwed it up. I think he should have been number 3 or 4 on this list. So I'm sorry to this recipient, but I'm going to posthumously put him in our top 10. And maybe we have a little addendum there. But our recipient is none other than Mr. Frank Robinson, who played for from 1956 to 1976.
Yep.
Played for 5 teams. He was the only player to be named most valuable player of both the National League and the American League. Mm-hmm. He was named the National League MVP after leading the Reds to the pennant in 61 and was named the AL MVP in 1966 with the Baltimore Orioles after winning the Triple Crown. He had a career lifetime batting average of .294, 2,943 hits, 586 home runs, and 1,812 RBIs. I mean, he was 14-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion in 66 and 1970. He was, again, the 2-time MVP, a World Series MVP in 66, won the Triple Crown, and also just happened to win the NL Rookie of the Year. His number is retired by the Cincinnati Reds, the Baltimore Orioles, the Cleveland Indians, and he's in the Indians, Reds, Baltimore Orioles, and Washington Nationals Hall of Fame and or Ring of Honors, respectively, and is in the Hall of Fame. And I think what he's probably most famous for is he's the first black manager in big league history as a player manager for the Cleveland Indians. I mean, how did we miss him? I was trying to remember did he play right field as well as left field? Did he move? I don't know. But Frank Robinson,
he moved around the outfield.
He moved around a lot. So, maybe we'll put him in right field or something. I don't know. But he was unbelievable and a guy who did a lot of firsts. I mean, I don't think it was easy being the first African-American, manager, especially as a player manager. Yeah. And, he managed for quite some time. He was kind of a 500 or just below 500 as a manager, but he had a lot to do with a lot of teams for a long time as both a manager and, a coach, and did a lot for civil. He became an active in the civil rights movement. He originally declined membership and AACP unless the organization promised not to make him do public appearances. I guess he didn't. But he was somebody who I think worked really hard for equality and obviously was a groundbreaker. So he's maybe our most esteemed member of the Old Balls Club, yes. Mr. Frank Robinson.
And he lost. He unfortunately he lost a World Series in '69 too. But
he did that year. That year, a lot of unsung or underdog New York teams beat Baltimore teams in the championships.
Yeah, it's a true story. So there you go. So this Frank Robinson, this week's Old Balls.
Old Balls.
All right. By the way, 1,270 games in right field, 836 in left.
Okay.
So right field.
A significantly graded number.
That's why. So we got him in right field. But
so more games in right field.
More games in right field.
So. But he's our left field old.
He's deserving of a left field Old Balls and maybe a right field
old
top
balls
10.
and a right field.
Yeah,
top
there
10.
we go.
There you go. All right. There you go. All right. Well, that brings us to. Let's do a little NFL talk because there's not much to talk about, and let's get that done because then we can look at the score of the game too, the score of the games for NBA.
There's an NFL game on.
An NFL game on, yes. The Oakland Raiders.
I know
the Oakland Raiders are playing the St. Louis Rams.
Zach Wilson threw a couple of wobbly passes in OTAs today.
A couple of wobbly passes, did he?
There was video of it.
I heard Joe Klecko is going to be the next coach for Duke basketball.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute too. I got just something to say. I wanted to say this really quick.
All right.
I want your both opinion, but especially Harry's. It's been reported that Daniel Jones ranks among. Well, you'll hear why in a minute. Daniel Jones ranks among the best deep passers in the NFL. What do you have to say about that?
So now I know why you want his opinion.
There's one word missing before passers, and that's completed. What does that mean? What is that based on? Who did this list?
What is the math?
He surprises. He's in the top 10 of deep passers.
Gino from Weehawken created this list. I mean,
no.
That was
Jimmy made it before.
Passes that Gino has seen.
Look, Daniel, the verdict.
Passes that Gino's seen Daniel Jones.
The verdict isn't out on Daniel Jones. We're waiting for Daniel Jones to be even an acceptable quarterback in the NFL.
Gotcha.
And look, unless the Giants pull off a trade, which it doesn't look like it's going to happen, it looks like the Packers are going to hold their ground, and Rodgers is going to have to decide whether or not he sits out or not.
Right.
If the offensive line could give Daniel Jones a little bit of time, we'll see what Daniel Jones can do. He's going to have more talent around him than Eli certainly had in the last 5, 6, 7 years of his time with the Giants, and maybe more talent receiver-wise than the Giants have had ever. A top 2, 3, 4 running back if he's healthy, we don't know. It seems like there's some not great progress on that camp,
right?
But I don't know. I've heard one criticism of Tom Brady all these years that he can't throw the deep ball. Who cares?
Right.
Yeah.
Get the job done. It doesn't matter.
Kenny Sabler couldn't throw the deep ball either, right. But he still threw it far enough that he had a lot of touchdowns caught.
He fumbled a ball that won a game for him too. So.
Right.
Okay. All right. But, you want my opinion on this?
Give me your opinion. Go for it.
All right. Quite simple. The numbers don't lie. He's top 10. If the Giants don't go to the NFC Championship game this year, then it's a failure.
There you go. Flat out done.
It's simple math.
I would argue that he's probably not a top 25 and possibly not a top 30 quarterback in the NFL stats-wise over the sample survey that we have.
You are never going to get invited to the Daniel Jones fun run.
No,
not happening.
No,
I will pay all the money you want.
I will be really happy the year where Daniel Jones is on the Jacksonville Jaguars and Gary Sanchez is occasionally DHing.
Bunch of cocaine you're not getting
for the Kansas City Royals. That will make me very happy.
You'll be very happy.
Yes,
the Royals, not the Chiefs. The Royals.
The Royals. Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Well, it's Gary. I said Gary Sanchez.
Oh, okay.
Gary Sanchez is on the Chiefs.
I mean,
didn't catch the last name.
Probably do better on the Chiefs.
There you go.
Patrick Mahomes would make him a better catcher. That's for sure.
Hey, speaking, you know what state I'm in, right? I'm in Carolina. I'm hoping to see Sam.
Well, you know what? Sam Darnold is actually he's looking forward to Week 1 versus the Jets. He said, it was quoted as saying, "It's a good opportunity to compete." And reading between the lines, that means I want to kick the shit out of them.
And he possibly could,
So
he's gonna put Zach Wilson over his lap and spank him. If he has anything to say about it.
Well, let me ask you this though: if Barkley comes back at full strength, Harry,
that's a big if right now.
That's I said if Barkley comes back at full strength, all right, with all of the other weapons they have, does that? If Daniel Jones can step up to the challenge, does that make the Giants' offense a powerhouse in the NFL?
I don't know about powerhouse, but if the offensive line does a modicum of blocking with the talent the Giants have around him, it should provide Daniel Jones with an opportunity to do very well. And I'm not saying he couldn't. Right. I don't think Daniel Jones is going to be the X factor. I think Daniel Jones is going to be the guy who services the offense and hopefully keeps his turnovers down.
Right. I got you. I hear you.
I don't think Daniel Jones is – I think he's going to progressively get better in his decision-making. I think the Giants are going to win the way the Giants have always won. I think they're going to have to win with defense, controlling the ball, which obviously Saquon Barkley and the offensive line are the biggest factors in that, and then taking advantage of the weapons he has. Right. And I think it's going to be more of the short game. I think that the key to the Giants is really how do they do in those crossing patterns? How do they do on those quick routes? How do they keep the offense moving and not stagnate on first and second down and then have a third and long? Because when you got a third and long, that's where it puts the most stress on the offensive line and puts Daniel Jones in a situation where he's not going to be as successful.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. Well, I mean, the key, and we've been saying this all along, the key is the offensive line. It's not Daniel Jones' talent, because Daniel Jones does have talent. How big that talent is
he's a top 30 quarterback.
It remains to be seen based on, obviously, his weapons, the health of his weapons, and the offensive line. But, we'll see if they put it together this year. We'll see what happens.
Conference championship game or bust.
There you go. That's what you're all in. You're all in.
I mean, look,
as a Jets fan, you're all in on the Giants going.
Hey, why not?
If the Giants make it to 500 this year, it's an improvement, right?
It's an improvement. Well, they can't make it to 500, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, no one.
17.
Well, they could have a tie.
They could.
There you go. That's very true.
Now the tie becomes
more important.
Can't you see a Giants-Philly tie like 12-12?
Last tie I think the Giants had was Giants and Redskins.
8-1.
Yeah.
Giants won the division that year in the
they win the division,
I think.
Going 8-1.
Yeah, Giants were 10-5-1. I think that they won the division that year. It was 98, I think.
I mean, I think Washington's the favorite in the NFC East. I know everybody's really hot on. We got Dak signed. He's happy.
They got Fitzmagic, right?
If you look at what they were doing towards the end of the year,
right,
and they have the least question marks, I think, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think Philly's. I think Philly's a question mark. I think there's just too many chemistry things that are up in the air with them right now. I think the Giants, they'll make a stride in the right direction. They should, but I think Washington with that defense and I think they're going to win that division.
Well, we'll see how that pans out in several months. Let's not rush this summer just yet. I have one other thing for you.
You're the one that brought the NFL up.
Yeah.
Well, no, as far as them winning the division,
I just
wanted to start the season. I didn't want to finish it yet.
I want to do division record picks next week.
There you go. Super Bowl picks, and we're sticking to them. It doesn't matter what they are.
That's right.
We haven't heard anything on Washington yet, right? With a team name. They're still the Washington football team, right? They're not. Yeah. They haven't come out with anything yet. Yeah. And conversely, in baseball too, we haven't heard anything from. The Indians are still the Indians. They didn't change to the Cleveland baseball team, but they're renaming, but there hasn't been anything yet. There has been a renamed team in the CFL. The Edmonton Eskimos are now the Edmonton Elks.
But the Rough Riders are still the Rough Riders.
The Rough Riders are still the Rough Riders. Exactly. But I got a question about this. First of all, Somebody had mentioned on a couple of blogs, it said, doesn't that look like a bird with a bad toupee?
It looks like if somebody no, it looks like if like the Milwaukee Bucks had a new 2021 hot logo to get the kids to the game. That's what it looks like.
There you go. That could be work.
It looks like a dog getting hit with a tree branch to me.
And
isn't the Edmonton Elks though where like my dad would go to hang out when he's in Canada?
See, that's the question though. That's the question though. The Edmonton Elks, right? Isn't elk plural, like deer?
I don't know.
Like moose.
Not in Canada.
In Canada, it's elks.
I guess.
Can we edit this whole segment out of the podcast? This is just.
I just wanted to throw that in there for you.
Yeah, that's a pretty good question, actually.
It's that's the biggest one of it though. Isn't elk plural? Wouldn't it be the Edmonton elk?
Look at all those elks over there. That can't be right.
Look at all those elk over there. Look at that herd of elk.
Multiple elk are still elk.
Multiple elk are still
I am aware the dictionary recognizes elks as an acceptable plural of the word elk, but anyone that uses it that way gets looked at like a rube.
There you go. There you go.
This is 10 reasons why I hate the name Edmonton Elks.
There you go.
I mean, now we're getting to something.
Now we got it. Now we dug down deep and we figured it out. Anyway, all right. Let's move on to a little basketball.
Just imagine like 100,000 Canadians. They make the announcement, and they all look at the TV news, and they go, "I'm pretty sure that it ought to be elk, eh?
It's elk, eh?
I think it's elk.
It's elk." Yeah, that's the biggest hot news up in Canada right now. So anyway, all right.
What is that? The Canadian Football League?
Yeah, it would be the CFL. Yeah, the Canadian Football League. The Edmonton Eskimos are now the Edmonton Elk because Eskimos.
Did Warren Moon play for the Edmonton Eskimos?
Warren Moon played for who did Warren Moon?
The Ottawa Rough Riders.
No, he played for I think Saskatchewan Rough Riders.
There was a lot of Rough Riders.
There's several Rough Riders. There's a lot of rough riding up in Canada.
They were politically correct before they even knew they were.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
He played for the Edmonton Eskimos. Yes, he did.
Right.
He played for the Edmonton Eskimos.
I believe it's Eskimi.
Eskimi. The Edmonton Eskimi.
Although Eskimos is an acceptable alternative.
That was his first stop. He was undrafted in '78. Went up to Edmonton and played for the Eskimos for 6 seasons. Yes, and then he went to Houston, and then toured around the NFL at that point.
It's tough to play in snowshoes too.
It's hard. It's very difficult.
With those heavy coats and mittens. Right. I don't know how he ever threw the ball.
I think they had a dome. I believe they had a dome.
It's called the Igloo.
A lot of the
have to rename
Canadian football teams had domes.
That's true. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, what do they call it now? The Elk House.
And what's the trophy? What do you win? It's the Grey Cup.
The Grey Cup.
Grey Cup, yeah. So there you go. All right, NBA. Let's talk about the.
Not looking good for the Knicks.
It's not.
The Knicks season's over, and you kind of knew it. And I think the only question mark I have for the Knicks is, do you sign Julius Randle? I know my answer on it.
No.
Yes.
Or yes?
No. Hell no. Look, they're going to overpay him.
Right.
Okay. I think Julius Randle's a fine number 2 or number 3 on a team that's going to compete for a championship.
Right.
I think the Knicks have made really bad draft choices, and I think that they're not built for today's NBA or for the playoffs. And they either they don't sign Randle and hope they can get a top free agent signing, which maybe they will, maybe they won't. The odds are against them. But if you overpay Randle, and you're not going to have any room to get another top player to play alongside of him. I'm not saying I could see Julius Randle being a guy on this team who's a solid number 2. He's had a great year. He carried this team on his back, but he just, I don't think, has the capacity to lead a team in the postseason.
I think I'm going to take the flip side of the argument because I agree with you. He's the perfect number 2. And I think it was only a couple of years ago that the Knicks had enough money for 2 max contracts.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
Like they were looking to bring in like LeBron and Durant or two big names, and that didn't work out. Right. So I think they keep him. You're right. They'll probably overpay for him, but he is the number 2, and they do. I think it makes it more attractive for one of those big names to come here.
I agree.
If Randall is here,
and I agree with you if they can do that. I also, I think
they got to have the money. They're not paying anybody else.
They're not paying anybody. And you're right. You're absolutely right. I was frozen there for a minute. That's why I couldn't comment on what you said. They had money for 2 max contracts. They were going after Durant and Irving. And then they didn't, and
if that's the case and they can pull that off, then that's great. What I could see the Knicks doing though is re-signing Randall, not getting that next level star, then desperately trying to hold on to some of these guys who I don't think should be starting in the NBA.
Right.
Yeah.
Now losing
if they go after Dame with sign Randall and go after Dame, I mean that might be an interesting.
I have some thoughts on Damian Lillard.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, just a side note, the Knicks are down 16 points.
It's
with 3
over.
minutes left.
Yeah, that was
the Sixers moved on. They handily beat Washington. I think it's gonna. I think the Hawks will give the Sixers, especially if Embiid doesn't play, a run for the money. But the Sixers are much like the Knicks. I'll tell you what, Doc Rivers has them playing really solid team defense, and I think the Sixers, even without Embiid, I mean, they're going to need Embiid obviously to move on, but I think they can win a couple games should they have to against Atlanta without Embiid. But he didn't play at all. He didn't play at all today, and I don't know if we even know what his.
Is there an issue, or is it just they were going to win anyway? Screw it, he's not.
No, he's hurt.
He's hurt.
No, he's hurt.
But
and I mean,
I don't think there's been any upgrades. But here's the difference with the Sixers, and I think they remind me a little bit of some other teams in the West, is that these guys are showing up in the playoffs. Tobias Harris, Seth Curry, Denny Green is even, was even doing things. They're playing good ball, and they're taking that pressure off of Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons took 11 shots today. He had 10 rebounds and 11 assists and 19 points. So he played his game. He doesn't have to get out of his comfort zone, even without Embiid there. Right. And they held Washington to 112. The game it was kind of garbage time for a while there. So, they let Bradley Beal go off. Westbrook had another good game, but Russell Westbrook was minus 21 in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows that Game 4 was an aberration.
Yeah.
And everybody lost. Everybody's
was a
with
minute.
the exception of Milwaukee, everybody's kind of had one.
A lot of gentlemen sweeps.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They're which was a minute and a half left now. They're only down 13 now. So I mean, maybe they can make a little bit of a comeback.
Oh yeah.
RJ Barrett.
Threes and a couple of
Am I seeing this right? RJ Barrett is the top scorer for the Knicks with 17 points.
No, Randall's got 23.
Randall's got 23. All right. It's not.
Well, how would you? Let me just ask you quickly. Randall's playoff performance been kind of disappointing, right?
Disappointing.
Really disappointing.
Absolutely.
And you know what? It's also his demeanor. He's got the kind of game that when you put some pressure on him, double team him, he looked uncomfortable. His shot was different. He was forcing the ball. That extra hand in the face when you're shooting 3-pointers. I mean, he was very bad from the 3-point line. Yep. And he was missing a lot of his typical mid-range, and he couldn't in the playoffs. He couldn't figure out. And Giannis went through this a lot. He couldn't figure out. All right, I'm not getting right to the hole. So how do I change my game so that I can make these little 10-foot, jumpers? That might come, but he's not a guy to Trae Young is a guy that it's his team. I'm going to win this. Screw you.
Yeah.
And yes, he was in a winning fashion. We've seen this with Ja Morant, which is probably going to be in a losing manner, but same thing. We're seeing these young guys who are built to play in the playoffs, and they can carry their teams on their backs.
Yep.
It's some help, but I mean, Trae Young scored 31 points today. There wasn't even anybody else close.
34 now he's got.
Yeah. So, the Hawks. The Hawks are peaking at the right time, and I think the Knicks. Look, we said these two teams are pretty evenly matched. Mm-hmm. The Knicks had a couple bad games, and I think it got in their head. I think the Knicks are still that young team. They're a little bit delicate mentally, and they kind of lost their cool a little bit during all of this.
Well, apparently there was Capella was doing some trash talking the other day, and Randall said, "Don't care. Why the hell would I give a why would I give a hell what Clint Capella had to say?"
Right. So. Well, that's good, but you saw the Randall kind of had a cheap retaliation foul, which that could have went against him. They could have called it a flagrant 2, and he could have missed the game. Those are the kind of things where you got to get other guys to do that. You got to gives Kevin Knox something to do.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, the thing that I saw with Randall is he just wasn't making decisions quickly enough.
No.
I think he looked uncomfortable, and you're right, wasn't sure wasn't making the pass.
The game,
soon enough.
But that wasn't that way in the regular season, though. He looked like he was in control
because they weren't playing the same defense.
Because they weren't playing the same defense. Yeah,
the
Hawks did a great job.
A lot of regular season teams. It's just and the Knicks are done. It's final.
And you look at Derrick Rose. Well, he played 26 minutes, which is about what he was playing before. But
Derrick Rose
is 6 points.
He's a guy who, yes, he had the one good game, and yes, I actually think Tom Thibodeau made some bad moves in this. I think number one, starting Taj Gibson and playing the minutes he did and not playing Noel was a mistake. Nerlens Noel is a really good defensive player. I think Burks. I think Burks' minutes were justified. Yeah. I think that second line of the Knicks, whether it's Barrett, Bullock, Toppin, they're just not consistently great players. They're all the same kind of player. Obi Toppin's wonderful to watch dunk the ball, but he has no game outside of that. And in the playoffs, you have to either be create your own shot, quick release, killer 3-point shooter, or you have to be able to create your own shot and get to the free throw line. Yep. And the Knicks don't have those guys. Randall shot 4 free throws today. The Knicks total shot only 18 free throws. I don't
know. We got to see what happens with Obi Toppin. He's got to improve his game.
He definitely.
He's their number 1 pick, isn't he?
You know what? He's number 1 pick. Yeah.
Look, the Knicks have a lot of number 1 picks in Toppin, in Knox, in Barrett, which if somebody else wants them and you can get something for them, go for it.
Right.
Well, yeah, they've got dead weight they got to get rid of, right?
So what's your thought what's both of your thoughts on a guy like Lillard coming?
I don't think Lillard's going to come to the Knicks because I don't think the Knicks have more to offer than what he already has in Portland.
Right.
Now, can we transition to the Denver-Portland game? Because I know you guys were probably fast asleep. That was the best basketball game I've seen in maybe 10 years.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
and the one thing other than number one, it proved the Knicks are not. Look, Austin Rivers had 18 points last night in Denver. He started. The one thing that kept going through my mind watching that game last night was, yes, Damian Lillard is great. And yes, Jokic, even though he looks like he's about to die at any moment, is just clutch. And yes, the Nuggets both teams were playing really great basketball. The one thing that I kept thinking over and over again is how amazing would a team with Jokic and Damian Lillard be? It would be an exhibition every night in basketball. Yeah. I think and look, I think Denver has more upside than Portland does, just based on the personnel that they have. I think the Nuggets have a better coach. I think they play a slightly better team defense. But Damian Lillard coming to the Nuggets, even without Jamal Murray, if it's just Michael Porter Jr. and some of the other pieces that the Nuggets have, I think that team with Monte Morris, and I think they immediately become the favorites in the West and could potentially compete with the Nets, maybe one player away for competing with us. I think those two guys together would be absolutely dynamic. Imagine if you can't double Dame or if you can't double down. I mean, who do you leave open?
Yeah.
And imagine Damian Lillard not having to bring the ball up the court and not having to be the facilitator. Imagine if he was free to be getting passes from Jokic all game long. I mean, I think they're two of the most all-round talented players in the NBA. And I think, and I've said this, I think Lillard is the best guard in the game right now. Maybe Harden, Kyrie Irving, certainly great. Right. Steph Curry. But I think by himself, I think Damian Lillard is the best guard in the game. And I think teaming him up with Jokic would be absolutely stunning. I think it would be really entertaining basketball.
You think that's a possibility? You think that could happen?
I think I think Lillard wants to stay in Portland. Now, will that change? I don't know. He seems to be a little, and we'll see. That series isn't over yet, so I think it really depends on what happens to Portland in the playoffs. Yeah. It's not that Portland doesn't have some talent around them; they do, and I just think I'm not sure Portland's going to be able to get. I think he's going to have to decide, hey, I want to go somewhere else. And I think in his mind, he doesn't want to go and be with LeBron. He doesn't want to be with that sort of big name, let's build a team kind of scenario. Right. But if he goes to Denver, he's still in a relatively small market, and he obviously becomes the leader of that team in a lot of ways. And I think Jokic doesn't give a shit. I think he would be like, yeah, come play. I'll play point center, and I'll have 12 assists a game next year. So I think it's what the Nuggets are missing, and I just think that I don't see anybody else necessarily wanting to go to Portland with that scenario, because I do think Damian Lillard is the kind of guy which I think he needs a specific kind of team around him.
So if Lillard doesn't want to leave Portland, would you take Leonard?
Oh yeah, but I still don't think, even with the difference that the Knicks have made this year, I don't think. Well, number one, Kawhi Leonard's not coming to New York.
I meant Denver.
Yeah. Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, he's another guy who immediately becomes makes them.
Everybody's going to Denver.
Everybody's going.
No, I don't think anybody's
no
going.
other destination as good as Denver.
No, Aaron Rodgers is going to be starting.
No, I don't. Well, in basketball, I don't think. But here's the thing.
I don't think there is in the West. I agree with you.
Towards the end of their career, Allen Iverson came to Denver. Kenyon Martin came to. I mean, there have been instances where people have said, okay, because they thought, hey, I can join this team and be that missing piece, and they almost were. That Iverson, Carmelo, Martin, Denver Nuggets team was pretty darn good, and they were a game or two away of beating the Lakers in the finals. I think Lillard doesn't want to go to a big name. He doesn't want to play with one of the top guys, necessarily. I could see him leaving Portland if it's the right fit and he feels like, hey, I can still play my game and I have a chance of winning it and kind of doing it on my own terms.
Right.
See, I think if he went to Denver, I think it could still be Joker's team. I think Lillard doesn't need to be the man.
No,
look, I think he'd be happy to go there, put in 35 every night, and win.
Oh yeah,
and Jokic can run the offense through Jokic, and
I think he still would. I mean, that's my point. I mean, imagine Lillard not having to exert all of that energy bringing the ball up. You keep a Campazzo or an Austin Rivers or some other. You can team him up with even Michael Porter Jr. in the backcourt. Now all of a sudden, Lillard's freed up in that offense,
right?
And it would be a dynamic fit. I mean, it would be an amazing fit. And when all four guys collapse on Jokic when he's driving to the lane, he's not looking out at Monte Harris. He's looking out at Damian Lillard at the 3-point line, who's going to catch and shoot and not have to be. I mean, imagine him if in a catch and shoot scenario where he's not having to do 60-foot step backs against three guys.
Yeah,
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And he can. Put up those 30-footers when the defense they're playing against is tough. He can create his own shots. So,
yeah. And he's a guy who can, he's not always going to be that 30 35-point guy. He does have games where he's a facilitator. He does have games where he feeds off of it. But in the playoffs, based on just what Portland has right now, he's kind of had to do that. And he had it was one of the best performances. It was Reggie Miller-esque, where I'm just going, can we please put this team away? And he was phenomenal and worthy of all the accolades that he got. But at the end of the day, the Nuggets stepped up and they had some guys like Porter, Monte Morris, Austin Rivers, who really stepped up in that game. And Jokic was what Jokic is. I mean, he's just the ball goes through him and the game sort of slows down around him. He was the one who made a cross-court pass to Porter for the game-winning three. That was, just one of the most amazing passes I've seen in an NBA game, let alone at the end of a game in crunch time. The other team the other guy who I could see Lillard playing with is Giannis. I mean, I think they're in the same boat where we'll see. I mean, I think the Bucks are going to give the Nets a run for their money, but I still don't think the Bucks are the team that's going to win the championship. Now, I think anybody who gets through the East right now with the way the Lakers are and the way the Clippers are playing, I think this might be the year where the East wins it.
It's very possible. It's definitely possible.
Well, who do we like in Game 5 between Dallas and the Clippers?
I think the Clippers are going to win this game. I think it'll be close, but I think they'll win this game.
Is it going 7? Or
I think it'll go 6 or 7. Yeah.
Well, it's got to go 6.
Yeah. So. I think it'll go 7.
Yeah.
I tend to think it will too.
If the Clippers lay down tonight, then that tells me a lot. And it also tells me that Kawhi will not be back next year.
Right. Well, that's kind of where I was going to before that. If that happens, where do you see him though? I mean, I know you're talking about Denver, but do you see him? Where do you see him going?
Kawhi's the kind of guy who I could see him going to any contender and immediately making them, the championship team. Yeah. I don't think he'll go to the Lakers. I don't think the Lakers are kind of a mess right now. I don't know.
Could Kawhi go to Golden State?
Well, does he make Golden State better if Klay Thompson's back? I mean, he does. That'd be but I don't really see that too much either.
Right. Yeah, but look who they had when they were winning before, right?
Yeah, I mean,
they had KD, so
right. I don't
and Klay and Steph, and they made it work.
But so. KD fit a different role there. He kind of played small forward. He kind of played power forward. He fit a different role. Kawhi certainly makes them better. I mean, imagine that so-called backcourt or 2, 1, 2, and 3. I mean, that's
right.
Top, it's unbelievable. I don't know where he goes. I mean, he can fit in on almost any team. I don't think he wants to play in the East, but because there's 2 or 3 teams in the East that I think if he went to could tip the tide. I mean, obviously Milwaukee, obviously Philadelphia. He'll probably just wind up going to the Nets.
I was going to say, well, he'll just wind up in Brooklyn.
Right.
Why not? And bring Dame along for laughs as well.
I don't think he will. The other thing is you might see the Clippers make a move to surround him with there might be some moves, people going to the Clippers. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Anthony Davis a free agent after this year?
Could be.
Yeah, I think
he might have an opt out.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there's going to be some movement, but we shall see. I mean, Kawhi to a team like Phoenix or Kawhi to a team like Utah or a team like Denver. I mean, damn, that makes 3 really good teams that much better.
All right. Okay, so we know the East semis are set. It's Brooklyn and Milwaukee, and it's Philly and Atlanta. What's happening? What's happening out west?
I don't think Davis is going anywhere.
No,
he's
and I'm not sure I want Anthony Davis.
No, that's what I mean. He's a free agent in 25. And he's making 37 next year, 40 and 43.
Oh, so it's 2025, not 20. Okay, I thought.
Yeah, it's 2025. Yeah,
that's right. Oh, that's right. They actually did sign him.
Yeah,
after the trade.
5 years, $190 million.
Yeah, he's
that's right. I forgot that they signed him after
$190 million to stand in his street clothes on the side. That's okay. That's not bad.
Yeah.
I think the West is a toss-up.
I would have done it for 160.
I think Utah, is going to beat Memphis, and they'll wrap that series up. I think Phoenix is going to.
I think Phoenix is going to beat the Lakers.
Put the Lakers. But the Lakers are they're not very deep and they're hurt. They're just not the Lakers of last year. They're not even close.
Right.
I think Denver and Portland's a toss-up still, and I said that from the very beginning. And the fact that Denver, the exception of the one egg they laid, God, I mean, they're a team that's just winning against a pretty decent, I think, a very good Portland team with one of the best players in the NBA. I don't know. I mean, he had one game where the whole team didn't play well, but Jokic is he just does it night in and night out. And he doesn't always get the consistent help from anybody else. I think Utah and Phoenix move on. I think it could be Denver or Portland, and I think it's a toss-up between Dallas and the Clippers. And I think the whole West is a toss-up. And I think you might see the top two teams playing each other, and that they might be the two best teams in the West right now.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: Utah obviously is moving on. I think Dallas is moving on above. They're taking care of the Clippers. Phoenix is winning tomorrow. The Lakers are done tomorrow. I think Portland's going to win tomorrow, and then Denver's going to win on Sunday. I think it's going 7, but Denver will win. That's my point. That's my.
So then it would be Denver against.
So it'd be Denver against
Phoenix.
No. Phoenix. Yeah, Denver against Phoenix. And
Denver against Phoenix and Dallas against Utah.
Mm-hmm. Denver, Phoenix, Dallas, Utah.
Good. I mean, right now the NBA front office is going, oh, damn it. I'm not so sure the Lakers lay down tomorrow. Or is it tomorrow? Yeah,
it's tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it might go 7, but I think Phoenix will win.
I just think the Lakers.
I don't know. I like the Clippers. I like the Clippers over Dallas.
I think the Clippers could still win, but there's something both the Lakers and Clippers just have. There's something in their body language and their energy that's just. I've never seen a LeBron team so unsure of themselves. And look, I think the Lakers made some bad offseason moves. I think Schroeder was a bad decision. I think getting rid of Dwight Howard was a bad decision. They're not very deep, and I don't think they have half the talent that they had last year. Right. And when Anthony Davis and LeBron get hurt, they're hurting a lot more than they would have, in the first round last year.
Absolutely.
They're also playing a pretty darn good team in the first round. All the teams in the West are pretty evenly matched up. I mean, yeah, Memphis sort of went on a little bit of a heater to get in there, and they put up a good fight without Donovan Mitchell in that the first couple games. But the Lakers got they had to play in. They had to play in.
I know.
And Phoenix is. I know. You could put all the praise you want on what's his name, the point guard. God, I can't believe it. But
Chris Paul.
But I mean, Ayton and Booker are just phenomenal players.
If Booker has one of those postseasons where he just says, "Okay, I'm going to do it now," he can be very, very dangerous.
Well, and Ayton's a hell of a frontline player. I mean, he's just a hell of a frontline player. And I just think I think Phoenix, Denver, even Portland to some degree, and Dallas, and Utah are built. They're a little bit more balanced. They have depth. They have players that can come in and play multiple positions. They can all shoot. They have good rim protectors. You don't see that a lot with the Clippers right now. You don't see that, obviously, with Anthony Davis off the floor with the Lakers. I think that the so-called favorites in the West are not necessarily favorites. And I don't really think Dallas is capable of beating a Utah or a Phoenix. But Doncic is – I mean, that's another place. Imagine Damian Lillard and Luka Doncic playing together. So,
yeah.
Jeez. There's a lot of places. So, well, we'll see what happens. I mean, by the time we do our show next Wednesday,
it'll all be over.
It'll all be done, and we'll be into the semis.
But it's been fun. I mean, even some of the play-in games, I know.
Well, you know what? I mean,
they were kind of fun.
You look at the West. I mean, they're just much more evenly matched up. I mean, everybody.
They're going to beat up on each other.
Everybody in the East was just a sweep, or the team that lost the series only won one game, and then other than the Utah-Memphis series, everything else is it's a series. It's
I hope
playing basketball.
I hope Embiid gets healthy because I really do think this Sixers team. I think the Sixers, Bucks, and Nets are. It's whoever winds up playing each other in the finals. I think it's going to be more of a challenge than. I don't think it's an automatic runaway for the Nets, and I think the Bucks are going to come out of the gate pretty strong. I could see the Bucks winning Game 1 against Brooklyn.
Okay,
I don't know. Bucks have been sitting around for a while.
True.
I think they're going to. Shake some rust off, but
and it's in Brooklyn.
But look, the
or is it in Milwaukee?
I don't know.
I think it's in Milwaukee.
I don't know. Which? Let's see.
Let's see. Game 1.
But
Game 1 is in Brooklyn.
It's
in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I will
have
say,
to be. The Brooklyn's the second seed.
I mean, the Jazz were already by 20 on. And look, I do want to give the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau. I think they had one of the most incredible improvements a team could have from year to year.
Yeah, I mean,
they're headed in the right direction. This is where, but we've seen this before with the Knicks, and this is where I hope that they continue with this patience and not, because I don't really think there's going to be a ton of slam dunk free agent signings. I think they're going to have to do it by sort of assembling a little bit. And I think they have to come to the understanding that maybe they don't have the right pieces.
Well, they clearly don't if they did what they did in this series. So, yeah, I mean, there's you can't say enough about the fact of what they did in the regular season. Right. Based on what they had done, years prior, it's night and day. I mean, kudos to all of them. I mean, it's unfortunate that they laid an egg in the series, but
right.
And they could have won, at least one, if not two, of the games they lost.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could be different if just for a couple of. I mean, it's not even they got blown out. A couple of different moves. The balls fall a little bit differently, and they're they're up 3-2 right now after losing tonight.
Yeah.
So, but hey.
I just felt after, I think Atlanta was a better team, and they had a better superstar who could take the team and sort of do what he did.
You just saw, I mean, Trae Young was just forget about it.
I think that the three breakout stars, and they're not really breakout stars, but the three guys who are just, other than Damian Lillard, who are just blowing my socks off right now, are Ja Morant, Trae Young, and Devin Booker. I mean, they're just those are some good basketball players. There's some good young basketball players in the city.
I think Gallinari definitely was the reason that they won.
Gallinari played good basketball.
He did.
It's probably the best couple games I've seen Gallinari play in a long time.
He was definitely more motivated than he has been in the past.
But that's what I mean. Atlanta had more experience and they were deeper.
Yeah.
And they could shoot the ball better. The Knicks went very cold.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the ice. It's ridiculous. But anyway, well, we'll see. Like I said, we'll the semis will be started a couple games in actually by the time we do our next show next week. And
it'll be fun.
It'll be.
Don't count out LeBron just yet.
Don't count him out just yet. I think I'm gonna go with their Phoenix is
because it doesn't look like Anthony Davis is going to be back.
No, so
but I think LeBron wins the next game. I think he'll win one.
Well, if they win it, LeBron wins it for them. That's
what I mean.
Yeah. So anyway, but and hockey's moving along. So.
Who's gonna be the next coach of the Boston Celtics? What a strange move that is.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's talk about that in a minute. That was weird. Whatchamacallit? I don't know.
Kendrick Perkins had an interesting take on this morning on one of the ESPN shows. And I think he makes a lot of sense in that he's saying, if an African-American coach, if a black coach failed like the coach of the Celtics, that he wouldn't get a promotion to the front office. Right. He'd be fighting to be a assistant coach somewhere else.
Right.
And I think that's true to some degree. And I think this sort of perpetuates some of the, so-called criticisms against the Celtics and that franchise. Mm-hmm. I think Danny Ainge's imprint on that team is huge. I think he's obviously a legend in Boston to some people, but it sounds like, hey, I'm going to leave, but I'm still going to be
I'll have my fingers in it.
Yeah. And so it'll be really interesting to see who they pick to be their head coach.
I think they should hire the fan that got arrested after throwing the water bottle at Kyrie.
Or maybe it'll be Kyrie.
It'd be good. It's possible.
But that's a team with a lot of talent, but again, a chemistry issue. They just don't have the right mix. If you look at a team like Utah, if you look at a team like Phoenix, they have the mix it takes to win basketball is a team game.
Right.
And even Brooklyn, they have the right mix now because they have guys who are willing to, they're moving the ball. And, oh, by the way, if the top three guys who are three of the top five players in the NBA aren't open, well, they have the best three-point shooter in basketball,
right?
Sitting at the three-point line. So we'll see. But it's we shall see. I think there's a lot of talent in Boston. I think there's more question marks than there are talent.
Well, they were back and forth, right? You never knew what team you were going to get. They were either going to walk away with the game or they were going to lay down. There was not really much gray area there. They were playing great basketball or they sucked.
And they don't have a definitive leader. They don't have that guy who's just, hey, this is my team. And I think they're going to have to make up their mind and probably trade one of the other guys on that team. We'll see.
We will. All right. Hockey's cruising along.
Go Islanders.
Yeah, the series is tied 1-1 with the Bruins right now.
Go Avs.
And Tampa Bay leads the Hurricanes 2-0.
2-0.
Yeah, and Colorado is still undefeated in the playoffs so far.
And they're up 1-0 right now.
1-0. Yeah.
And,
I'll tell you what, the Avalanche might be the fastest team I've ever seen play hockey.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
They're pretty quick.
And the Islanders and Bruins are tied up, right?
Islanders, yeah.
I think the story is the Canadiens.
Yeah, right. Look, what a comeback against, and then they're up 1-0 against the Jets.
Beat the Jets 5-3. I think one of those was an empty netter, but I was watching Game 7 and the Leafs were up 3-1, and I thought, okay, well, maybe they're going to do it, and it looked pretty good. And then I flipped away. I was watching, I don't know, something else, one of the basketball games, and I went back, and it was 3-2, and I went, uh-oh. And then I flipped away, and then I flipped back, and it was 3-3, and then I went to sleep, and then Montreal won. So, it's a great story. The Leafs were a great story, but Montreal is maybe even a better story.
It's tough being a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. I mean, I think they have the longest active streak between championships, right?
Yeah.
In all of sports.
Yeah, definitely. But it is fun. So, well, they're chugging along. So we'll see how that plays out next week as well. All right. Anything else in the world of sports we want to talk about?
Absolutely not.
I think we're good. What do you think?
All right.
Well, we'll wrap the show up for today on that note. We want to thank everybody for watching, and for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of our shows are on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at 7:30. For those of you that Eastern time, that is. For those of you that just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Watch a lot of sports. Watch the playoffs for both basketball and hockey, of course, and your favorite baseball team as well. And we will talk to you soon, guys. Take care. Cheers.
Hey, you know who'd look good on the Knicks? He's got a player option for free agency next year.
Who's that?
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul. There you go. Well, Chris Paul come to New York.
Take you right to the championship.
That's right. That's because nothing's better than a 39-year-old point guard
making $39 million.
Yeah,
39. Well, he makes $1 million per year he is old, right? So,
yeah.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great one. Cheers.
See ya.